Jamaica, 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 Jamaica.
My attack is a massive, it's got the power that snap. When I clap and I clap, because you know it's a rap. So you never can snare us, you know it's a trap. It's like a lyrical trap, even when we're running on tracks. With the hammer or the guns, gonna smash it at 4. Gonna smash it and grab it, always looking for more. Drop them like a bad habit, gonna hurt when we're bored. Beating French on the counter, so you know that it's raw. It's a lyrical miracle with a lyrical spill. Always keep it original like inventing the wheel. So you know that it's typical and we got the appeal. With a barrage of work, you get your lyrical shield. But the keys to the city, that means we got to unlock. Like a Taliban soldier, we're blowing up spots. If your head is a target, then we're licking it off. OCD is the hardest with the lyrical shot.
I'm coming with the rudeness, I proved it, I'm ruthless. Twist up your mind and work it out like a Rubik's. I do this, doing it for time, I pursue this. So stick up on the beat, verbally I spew this. Rudeness, intelligence, not crudeness. So stick on the beat with that smooth shit. OCD movement, ain't no room for no losers. 4 torn warriors covered in bruises. A single arrow cuts through 4 nooses. Don't confuse this with a scene from the movies. We stand firm that you'll never ever move. We penetrate deeper than the roots of an oak tree. OCD is enough to make you OD. Throw your hands in the air like you fucking know me.
This one we're sending out to wrong soldiers and road juice the ones rolling. If you're alone or old group, if you're holding, put a very spliff in the air. If you're sick of any prick, then tell a prick while he's there. Watch us lift it. Man and call spirits in the flesh. Mandolin guitars can't make to harmonise. Deaf heavens chanting. While the snakes charmed by the dead, the flow mantras. The holy Dalai Lama can bless his bananas. But I'm cast as nanas and nuts, so I clash with anybody twisting arms on my bruv. That's my brothers. Governments harm what I love, son. I'm loving for this government. The armor's built up, I react. Take stand and defend what I'm building. It's a fact. Kill a man and defend what we're building. So relax. Take a second for more. Progress to anything you want, attend to your force.
Let me bust this verbal soliloquy. You better trust it's the hottest shit from OCD. Original side for the lyricists and back to the crowd. Any hype that they're giving us. I spit the high grade found by the Mujahideen. First we surveyed, then we chose to flood the scene. Surrounded by the filth, now it's squeaky clean. Being left on the shelf was never the dream. Watch us propagate the next breed of higher strains. And in a low ways escaping some dire strains. That's how the plot plays. When you're reaching higher planes, forget the block days when you see the fire blaze. Flows are individual, never indivisible. Always been the case since back in the day. Been lyrical since DJ first scratched the play. Now it's typical, the sound boys are backing away.
Jamaica, 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 Jamaica.
Greasing cogs inside the Leviathan. 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 Up against the immovable object inside the Leviathan. Up against the immovable object, the Leviathan. Up against the immovable object, placing bets on illusional odds. Greasing cogs inside the Leviathan. Bear witness to this phenomenon. A clear sickness as it's coming on. That's their business. So I carry on beating my fists on the walls of Babylon. And it's vicious. If you're a vagabond in the British Isles, it ain't Avalon. The ambitious escape to the Amazon. Life is malicious, climbing the echelon. So we gotta break them chains, be personal best and make them gains. It's a hurtful mess. So abstain from eternal threats and a long campaign. Enough stress, but we don't complain, and I'm hopeful. So I won't refrain from a global test. Gotta maintain on a mobile flex with no disdain. Up against an immovable object, placing bets on illusional odds set. Yo, it's cruel from the onset, killing you slow is the usual project. Still thriving despite the drawbacks, ill right and designing formats. This life gotta ride it raw back, the mind's climbing, not wiping the floor mat. Greasing cogs inside the Leviathan, keeping watching the eyes conspiring. Catch wind, sound of the siren, fusing the flames of the furnace is firing. Not expiring, expanding, inquiring to gain understanding. A fall from the top equals a crash landing. Don't get fooled by the devil's rebranding. They make the rules, but we got the game plan. They make the rules, but we got the game plan.
How do I put it? It was like, what do you care about them? What do you care about those people? What difference does it make to you? Take care of your own life. Do the best you can for you and your family. What do the rest of the people mean to you? They don't mean anything to you. They're just serfs. They're just people. You know, what's the end goal? The end goal is to get everybody chipped, to control the whole society. They want a one-world government controlled by them. Everybody has an RFID chip implanted in behind them. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip.
Left it here, you mean? You left it here, you mean? 1, 2, 33, comrades, don't fret. Your internet machine is working correctly. You're in tune to Rise Above Live.
Rise above, generate, rise above, extinguish fear, rise above.
Just as we start to come on air, Andy PG is accusing me of stealing his lighter on Wednesday night.
I lose one every other week.
When we were recording Patreon. All night he was trying to safeguard his lighter from me. And he still left it here in the end of the night and accused me of stealing it. Big shout out to everyone tuned in. It's Friday night. We are live. This is a live record. It's a live recording. It's a live broadcast. It's not a recording. We are going out live right now. Big shout out to all the crew. Coviet Union, Defector, Q-Trax, Jedi the Try, Ligger, Lister, Lord Doobsworth, Robert, Auntie Coviet, Milwana. We see all of you there.
Currently 95 peasants tuned in, guys. Shalom.
Word to all your collective nans. Word to your nans in the collective.
Yeah, share the stream with your nan, guys. Share it on social media. Make sure Instagram, Facebook.
We've actually
Twitter.
got 98 people tuned in already, which is not bad. But if all of you share this link to your social media, whatever that may be, that will help us know a great deal. And, you know, as all good YouTubers say, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already.
The problem is you're a fucking retard.
Now,
It's clearly racist.
I can see that we've got Human Vibration in the green room already. HV, just sit tight. In about 5 minutes, we'll get you in. We'll just get rid of all our normal gubbins. Even yeah, you know, the stuff we have to get rid of. Yeah, you know, the meat and potatoes of the show. When we even before your presentation, we want to get you in on the general chat because it's a time of massive deception. So hold tight, HV. We'll be speaking to you very, very soon. Right, let's get the normal business out of the way before we get down to this highly anticipated presentation. Big shout to Indigo for last week.
Great show last week.
Great show.
Yeah,
We're definitely going to chat to him again. He's fully Ramish, definitely on our wavelength.
Becky said it seemed like we'd known each other for years.
Yeah,
Like,
just one of the crew. Yeah, we really appreciated the chat with Indigo. Big shout out to him.
He knows his shit as well.
Absolutely, yes, a very learned young man. So next week, no, not next week, in 2 weeks' time, when we return with the next live show, that's episode 158. Holy shit!
That is the last episode.
It is the last episode before our live weekender. And we will be giving a pair of tickets away again tonight. You will get up to enter your names into a draw. We'll be announcing it at the end of the show.
Oh, Michael.
Guy Anderson, The Rise of the Clones. I am super excited about chatting to this guy. He's written a couple of very highly acclaimed books about our hidden history. And we're going to be chatting to him on August 15th. And this will be the last live show before the weekender.
Checked him out the other day. He's very polite.
Yes, he's very polite.
Very
polite. Nice man.
To speak to.
Very nice man. Okay, so don't forget about our sponsors, Dr. Kimchi and also Liberty Silver Designs. Let's just get their QR code on the screen really quickly. Dr. Kimchi is a cryptocurrency that sponsors and funds alternative healers that are battling cancer, but without using big pharma drugs. So we support them, and we also support Liberty Silver Designs. Get your sterling silver jewellery, which is also a great investment. Jewellery, yeah.
Remember, I've told you guys many times.
Right, so and obviously, guys, it is now only 3 weeks until the event. We did a little info broadcast this week.
Yes, we did, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
to let you know what you need to bring, to remind you can only book the hotel over the phone. Don't try and book it on the internet. It says the hotel's fully booked. It's not. We've still got rooms left. I've spoke to all of our headliners. They're all confirmed.
Excellent.
I was looking for the excellent button to be placed there, actually. You know, and tickets are still available, guys. Only £15 is the cheapest ticket, and £50 for the whole weekend.
That's awesome.
Who have we got in the mix? Allegedly, Dave, Martin Leaker, Archaics, virtually, Graham Moore, Wisdom of Mushrooms, Toroidal Dynamics. We've got after parties. We've got speed dating. We've got the Ramish Marketplace.
Toroidal dynamics.
Toroidal dynamics. So we're going to have a breathing and a journey through sound session on the Friday evening, and we're going to be supporting our local Ramish craftsmen as well.
Yes, we will.
So I'm going to put the QR code on the screen and say, if you haven't already got your tickets, what the hell are you doing? We're looking forward to seeing you at Hotel Celebrity on August Bank Holiday in Bournemouth. That's the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th of
Let me tell you, unbelievable.
Okay, right. So I think, and obviously, look, it's going to be amazing. Look at all the great things that are going to be happening there, and the merch shop as well.
We'll be there.
Yes, we'll all be there. And remember, my two new designs, my new design and Andy PG's new catchphrase, "Word to your nan," is going to be available on a T-shirt. Here it is right here.
Which Becky has slapped on it for us.
Different colours available in that one. This will only be available on white T-shirts with the black design. This is called the Black Cube Organisation Word Map.
The word map.
Yes.
Word search.
Words, word search. Okay. Right, so word to your nan. And obviously, don't forget, we probably need to have a quick mention about what we've recorded on Patreon recently.
Yes, we do.
We're back to business on Patreon in a very big way.
Shout out to Ramesh Dave. He is a year's subscriber now on Patreon.
Yeah, people are making a saving by signing up to Patreon for a year. It's only £30. We think that's particularly good value. Since we put 2 brand new videos on there a week you never see on YouTube. Basically,
do you know how fucking long it takes to do some of the research like that I've had to do
exactly
to that?
What have we got coming up on Sunday, Andy PG?
Oh, Sunday we have got an evening with Michael.
An evening with where is he? Here he is. An evening with Tommy Rabbistein.
Tomek Rabbistein.
We're going to be breaking down the man, the myth, the state-sponsored agent, whichever way you want to look at it. Big shout to Russ Kieran for both of these memes. Run Man. This is because he assaulted someone at an airport and then ran away.
We got that tonight.
We'll be covering that tonight. Okay. So get onto the Patreon. I'm just going to put the QR code up as well. Midweek Raw comes out every Wednesday, and also we did an extra video this week.
Yes, we did.
Expose into the Shield.
Yes,
which was quite interesting.
The Shield organisation.
Yeah, so get on our Patreon. Big shout out to everyone that's signing up for a year and you basically get a month free when you pay for a year.
No, I've got like 4. No, I've got 6 shows. We've got another 6 shows lined up.
We've got lots lined up.
Yeah.
Next week, although we haven't got a live show, we are going to be active. We are going to be busy. On the 9th of August, we're not going to be going to the protest. We're not going to be protesting. We're going to be covering the protest.
Fucking press, Michael.
As new organic media. That's right. The Rise Above Live team will be there with our press passes. We're going to try and interview both sides of the protest.
And potentially the police, if they'll talk to us.
But the police will not talk to us.
Well,
no
they did the other day in Bournemouth Town when we did the Baywatch interview. So they might talk to us. But obviously, if we get there and no one's kicking off.
Oh, also, the Baywatch interview, the Baywatch special, which is the first time we hit the streets, that's going to be released on YouTube this week in 3 parts.
Nice.
So obviously, people on Patreon, they got that a month ago, the whole thing, an hour and a half. YouTube people have to wait a little bit longer for the exclusive stuff. It always goes on Patreon first. So yeah, this Saturday we're going to be going to this protest. What we want to try and also capture is anything fake going on, any deception. I
think we need to stress there that not all of our Peasantron content comes out on YouTube.
No, it
Far
doesn't.
from it.
No, honestly, but no, definitely not.
It just sounded then when you said it always comes out first on Patreon, right?
Well, if it comes out on YouTube, it always comes out on Patreon first.
There's a lot, right? We can't. There's most of it we can't even put onto YouTube, guys.
Absolutely not.
I know we keep banging on about Patreon, but it really is where
Patreon is where the real rise above is now. I hate to say it, we still love the Friday night show. It's our flagship product. We chat to great guests like we're going to in a moment with Human Vibration. But when it comes to actually getting down to the nitty gritty, we can actually only do that on Patreon nowadays. Yeah. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is.
Hell, otherwise we'd be in a slammer with Lucy Connolly.
Yeah, okay.
One of the Islamic radicalised wing.
I'm going to ask for a thumbs up from HV. If you're ready to join us, we've got the thumbs up. Let's get her in the chat. Got to be our favourite collaborator of all time. Human Vibration, welcome back.
Hey guys, I'm so glad to be back.
It's great to have you. First off, really sorry to hear about your dog. And we just want to give our condolences. We know... where have you gone? I'm just trying to sort the things out. We know you missed the last presentation because your dog was poorly. So we're really sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I really appreciate the extra time. That was a strange time. The week I was supposed to give the presentation was in May, and life stepped in and said, no, you got to wait. And in some ways, I'm glad that it has been pushed a little bit because I feel like it's a live presentation anyway. And so I'm able to kind of sorry, I'm getting an echo. It's happening again. It's happening again.
Oh, we need to get some feedback. Is everybody else hearing the echo? Because we can't hear it.
No, you sound fine, her.
Yeah, you
Okay,
sound
it's
fine. You
just
sound
on
fine
my
this
end.
end.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna.
Could everyone let us know if human vibration sounds good?
Sorry, guys.
No
Let's
problem.
see. I'm gonna just make sure everything. I got echo cancellation over here. Echo. Okay,
How's
I'm
that?
just gonna.
Just while human vibration
Well,
sort
but that's
of
just me.
take out
Maybe
that,
it's
look,
just,
Michael, do you,
I think it's just the voices in my head.
Oh, it's just the
Okay.
voices in your head. Cool. Well, everyone says you are going out crystal clear to the viewership.
Okay,
So
that's all that
hopefully
matters.
Those
That's all
should
that
be
matters.
sorted out, yeah.
maybe it's your Neuralink.
Yeah, is your Neuralink malfunctioning?
Elon.
Right, now, before we get down to your presentation, because let's face it, you always come fully loaded when you come on the show, HV, and that's what we love about you. You always come with actually an exclusive presentation. We can't wait for that. I just need to show you something, first of all, that's actually been made by not just one of our viewers, one of our long-time meme creators. They've actually made a meme for you. Let me just get rid of the camera so you can see it in its entirety. Dallas Blonde.
I love it. But the funny thing is the Dallas Blonde icon is already John Bonet. It's a beer.
Well, now it's you.
It's a
Now
local
it's you.
beer. It's so funny because I see her on billboards all the time. I'm like, that's John Bonet. That's John Bonet following me around town. She's a Dallas
This has
Blonde.
been made by
So am I.
Auntie Covia, which is she's on Memestress. She's our long-serving master of memes, and this is
I
her
had a
creation.
feeling it would be her. She's actually joined the Realize Radio. And she's in our Patreon. She's on the Discord. She's been making memes. I feel
Amazing.
very, very, very lucky and very fortunate to share.
Oh
to
right,
share
so
her
she's
mind.
she's
Yeah.
moonlighting for you guys, making memes as well. I'm gonna have to have a word with Auntie Covia. I think I thought we had her exclusively.
No,
you know
no,
what I
Michael.
mean?
We have to let them free, let them fly
So,
away.
sometimes we just have to let them go free.
If you love something, set it free.
No, there's been. I think, you know, you're a deception specialist, HV. That's what you've said that before, and I'm down with that. Is it just me, or since the last time we spoke, the deceptions are getting bigger, more obvious,
More retarded.
more in your face?
Yeah, I am 100% with you on that. And people ask me all the time, is it getting more retarded? They don't use that language, but I will. Because ultimately retardation is about diminishing us. It's not in the form of a retard is the slur. It's actually, if you look at the word and what it is doing, I think that we are being retarded. I think we're being
Absolutely,
throttled.
yeah. Society is slowly
Yeah.
being retarded. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
being held back.
Absolutely.
From forward progress. It is actually retarded.
Absolutely.
In its most literal sense.
In the most literal sense. And I think that's why we're not allowed to use the word, because we're not allowed to really understand and comprehend and appreciate the true meaning behind it.
I thought we were allowed now. I thought we were allowed. That's why everyone voted Trump in, so that we could call people retarded.
Good. I'm glad to be back. Back to normalcy, back again. But I don't think anything has changed. I think that what has shifted is our comprehension, our awareness, our shared understanding of what we are witnessing is changing. And I think that collectively it's easier to see now. And it was always like this. You look back at the moon landing, that looks fake as fuck. It always has.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed about that footage, but we are changing our comprehension of what we see. It's our eyes are fine. Our vision is fine. It's our comprehension of what we see that I think is sharpening. And it's a beautiful
Yeah,
thing.
I'm down with that analysis for sure. Here's just one little example which landed on my lap today. On last week,
Share the screen, Lance.
Yeah, no, I will at the opportune moment.
Beg your pardon.
Last week's show, we mentioned that a border skirmish had broken out between Thailand and Cambodia. This is an old conflict that's been sort of on and off for decades.
Yes.
And we saw lots, because, you know, I'm quite close with Thailand. Andy's got ties to Thailand. And we saw some videos of lots of like machinery and military machinery moving around. And then today, and you know, what looked very convincing videos, missiles going off, people getting shot. Then today I saw this. Thailand and Cambodia agreed to immediate ceasefire. And I looked down, how many people were killed? in the whole skirmish. Oh no, the camera's just gone in the way of it.
I
Look,
saw it.
You saw it, of course you did. Let me just get rid of that so everyone else can see it. 33 people.
The problem is you're a fucking retard.
No. Also, so that was quite funny. You know, obviously that jumped out to me, and then I sort of did a bit of googling HV, and I looked at what else were they saying about this very short conflict, and it says the border conflict reveals how Cambodia and Thailand have leveled up their weapons of war, and look at the person that wrote this.
Oh, Hogan.
Libby Hogan.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So I thought to myself, you know,
What are the
okay,
odds?
yeah, what are the odds of that? So I thought this was just quite an interesting example first, just off the bat of what we were talking about. It's you know, there's the 33 in there. There's the name of a famous person that's died writing this, you know, this pivotal piece here about the militarization of Cambodia and Thailand. I thought that was quite a funny little example.
Absolutely. And 33 goes right into what we're about to talk about, because 1933 was an instrumental year in Hitler's you know, it had to be. I'm not even going to touch on it, because I think it's just it's such a low-hanging fruit that you can find that number in every other presentation about World War II and every other presentation about Hitler. So
let me just give
hitting
you
it from some different angles, I think.
Yeah, let me just give you one more example. It's been a very good week for 33. You know, this thing about the gunman who they described as a white gunman, and he went into a building owned by BlackRock.
Yes.
Yep.
Do
you know what floor he did the shooting on?
33rd floor, Michael.
Can only be.
It's got to be.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah,
it's the 33rd,
and
three others,
and three others, Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
So now we've got we've got these like shooter scenarios that have got race baiting in as well. Where CNN describing him as white and he's clearly a black guy. It's on a black. It's in the
he
black.
Was kind of blazing.
Sheep Farm saying it's just a coincidence. Lads.
Oh right, Sheep Farm says it's just a coincidence.
Thank you,
it
Dom.
okay.
Shout out to the sheep farmers.
Must be okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's quite a strong week.
It's
for
on the
33.
surface now. It's all on the surface. And this is what, I mean, ultimately, I'm going to get kind of into this stuff in the presentation, but I don't think we need to do any digging anymore. It's right there. It's right there on the surface. It's clear as day. There's no secrets that need to be unearthed. There's no, you know, there's
it's
no
almost like the ruling class are trying to traumatize the public by just letting them know what they've been up to.
Either that or they're trying to free us, you know, whatever. I tend to think that whatever overlord there is, maybe perhaps it's benevolent and rooting for us to win. And that's why everything is just right there in the open, truth hiding in plain sight. Everything is clear as day, just right there for us to see if we are able to just have the right vantage point and the right lens through which to look.
Maybe there's one overseer that's trying to liberate us while some others are trying to encapsulate us all at the same time.
There's certainly some interference.
Yeah. Just before you get started, I'm just going to put one more random thing on the table, which I think you might like, HV.
Okay.
I came across this today. Since The Matrix was released in 1999, cell phones have been replacing landlines and payphones. The only way out that we were shown, the only way that we were shown was how to get out, was to use an analog phone.
That's fucking weird.
Have you ever come across this thought before, HV?
I've come across the thought, and it hits very deep. It hits, yeah, absolutely. And whenever I do find a landline still, I mean, payphones, there are non-operative. There's none anywhere around me. But if I can find a landline even, I'll just pick it up to listen to the dial tone, because in the United States, we have like a tritone blend. Your dial tone and your ringing tone in the UK is slightly different. Every country code has its own tonal blend, but there is just something I feel there's a message coming through when I pick up that receiver and I put my ear to the receiver and I hear that kind of like that kind of.
Do you think that could be triggering nostalgia?
Oh, it's definitely nostalgia, which I think is the most potent and powerful drug we have access to, is nostalgia. Take a big hit of that and you'll be back in childhood in no time. And I think that it works to kind of lock us in. I think that our memories, I have a little bit on memories here and why keeping our memories so etched in and so encoded is so important to our staying in the system. And yeah, I do think that there's like a bit of nostalgia, but also I do think in a way this world operates like some sort of musical theater. I think sound and audio and sonic cues and sonic vibrations are much more powerful than we've ever given them credit for. I'm a very visual person, and this presentation is going to be mostly visual, obviously, but I think that there's quite a bit more going on beyond what we see. I think that a lot of the operative functions of this realm are audio based. So maybe for another presentation we'll get into that. But yeah,
I'm already ready for that next presentation you're talking about.
One thing at a time. I had a real hard time sticking to just like Hitler, and you'll see that I didn't.
I probably should ask you before we get into this, because obviously all I've had from you is a title. I've come up with this thumbnail, which is fairly nondescript.
Love it.
But obviously, I kind of need to ask you, just to be sure and be careful. We are on YouTube. Are we going to be questioning the unquestionable event?
I can probably frame it so we don't.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're going to, you better use some pretty good...
I'm well adversed in that technique.
You need to use some good framing, because otherwise we should have done this on Patreon. And I did mention this a couple of weeks ago. I'm wondering, should this be on Patreon? But no, we're gonna...
No. You said on Wednesday, fuck it. No, we're just doing it.
No, we are doing it. We are. It's live. So yeah, I'd like to think between us we've got enough. What's the word? Linguistic nuance to be able to frame it in a way that's okay.
And guys, as we potentially may be talking about the forbidden subject tonight, there may be some lingo that the Rise Above people who aren't on Patreon might not be familiar with.
Oh shit! Yeah, okay.
Such as pizza course. Okay. Okay. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
just so we need to be aware of that.
So HV, are you going to share from your end? Because you can share. Yeah, you can do it there. So if I get rid of to avoid too many windows, let's get rid of my screen.
Okay.
And maybe we'll get rid of this one too here.
Okay. Let's see if I can.
Okay. I can see. Here it comes. The big lie. The big lie is about to be delivered. Here we go.
Let's see. Let me get it into presenter mode. Ooh, I'm getting. Oops! I just deleted my title. Don't start
retyping it.
That's not a good start. Okay. Let's see. And we're.
Oh yeah. By the way, while HV's sorting this out, if you want to enter the prize draw to get 2 tickets to the Weekender, you need to email us at riseabovelivestream@gmail.com.
Prize draw, you say, Michael?
Yeah, we'll put your names into the hat, and we will do it at the end of the show. We'll give away 2 free tickets. riseabovelivestream@gmail.com. Send your name on the email. In fact, you don't. We've just got your email address anyway.
And we'll pull your name out of the yarmulke.
Yes, we'll yeah, exactly. Right, HV, over to you.
All right. The big lie. Okay, let's see. Are you guys seeing this? Let me go forward.
Yep, we can see.
Okay, did it go forward or not? Because I'm not seeing it. Okay, let's see. Now we gotta.
It's still saying the big lie.
Okay, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Sorry, guys. This one is just. Let's see. All right.
It looks like you might have to scroll the screen down.
I'll do some filler here. Yeah. We have speculated about the validity of the
have we?
The pizza course on our Patreon page many a time. As many people will know, I'm a good fan of David Irving, the author, renowned author, very well respected in alternative research communities. He's got a lot to say on the subject.
Auntie Koviet says we need 6 million code words.
Well, as everyone's aware, it's very difficult to cook 6 million pizzas in the allotted time frame.
There we go.
Okay, is that better?
I think I'm on. Now, there we go.
Yes,
now
that's
we're
it.
live.
Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking with
gas mark 6.
Chambers.
Whoa.
Holy shit. Right, Michael. Pay close attention to this presentation, everyone. You might never see this again.
We are cooking with
Shout
gas.
out to King of Sting.
Okay, ultimately, this is a tough topic. and this isn't going to be your granddaddy's or your daddy's Holocaust presentation because it's
Fucking
you know
hell,
it's
fuck.
not
Pizza
really
course, the pizza
it's
course,
not
please,
even-
please.
you know, it's not even really a history presentation. It's not a geography presentation. It's not a character presentation on Hitler. This is really just a presentation on us, ultimately, on how the world works around us and how we can kind of get out of the traps that are set for us. So the big lie. This phrase, this concept, the big lie, was coined by none other than Hitler himself in his autobiography, Mein Kampf, My Struggle. And what's interesting is this autobiography came out before anybody knew who Hitler was, which I think is strange. You know, like that seems like a cart before the horse sort of thing. Seems like something that would take place only when you needed a character's story to go far and wide and introduce the public to this person that no one had heard of. So there's a couple of things in there that I find to be a little interesting. But included in this tome, in this treatise about himself, was a concept called the big lie. And ultimately, it has to do with to make a lie be accepted by the public. It can't be small. It's go big or go home. It's a deception so colossal that if the public were to wake up from it, it could disrupt the entire social order. So like you have to make it so big, so colossal, so vast, so wide that it simply cannot be questioned. It just can't be questioned. Something so pervasive, so wide, so vast, so all-encumbering that you wouldn't even think to question it. So don't make a little lie. You got to make a big old lie. And I this is actually from my John Benet Ramsey thread. If you're wondering why this innocent little face is included in my Hitler presentation, it's because I first came into the understanding, into the comprehension of this concept when I was working on my John Benet Ramsey thread back in 2020. So 5 years later, it you know, not even necessarily a full circle moment, but it is the Aurora Boros, the snake eating its own tail. So these do intertwine, and there was just something about her little face right there. It just felt.
Oh yes.
Just felt a little
Yeah.
that icy stare. Ultimately, these are both characters. That's how I explore both of them, not just Hitler as a character, but also John Benet as a character. And these characters can be formulated to look exactly how you want them. I kind of think John Benet is made out of a sprinkle of Marilyn Monroe and a sprinkle of Hitler and a few things mixed in there.
Sprinkle of Hitler.
Sprinkle of Hitler.
Straight away, we've got some amazing new terms we can coin after tonight's show. Just a sprinkle of the Austrian painter.
We might have that as a button.
A sprinkle of Hitler. Yeah. We have got a human vibration button with this sprinkle of Hitler.
I have suggested to Lance that we should have an Austrian painter button.
I just don't know if it's a good idea.
That's
I
one thing
didn't even include his prowess with a paintbrush. I didn't even include that section, but he was a gifted artist, a gifted painter. Also, they say Germans are generally good at engineering, and I think this whole dang thing was engineered. So we've got some arts, we've got some engineering, and it's all the canvas is our mind. The canvas is our mind here. Back to Hitler. I mean, truly. It's just a collection of elements that makes this boogeyman. It's just the hat. It's just that. It's just the mustache. It's just that little swoopy hair. You know, you could put any kind of visage behind those elements and you'd pretty much
Wait a minute. So
have yourself Hitler.
Can we just go back a sec? Is that
Yes.
sort of like suggesting the only difference between the archetype of Hitler and Charlie Chaplin is the hat?
Essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were on the scene at the same time. And Charlie Chaplin, I've got a slide here in a few minutes where, he was kind of instrumental in depicting Hitler to the world, starring in some movies as Hitler, and the resemblance is pretty uncanny, and quite a few actors actually were shown as Hitler, but ultimately back to characters. I think that they put these big characters in our consciousness because they need us to care about them. Hitler is a character that we care about. I mean, it's right there in the name. It's very self-evident. It is what it is. And when we care about something, it means we're paying attention. And ultimately, I believe that our focused attention, our concentrated, wink, wink, concentration, our focused energy and attention is the most powerful and potent resource on this plane realm within the realm. I think
Playnet.
This playnet. And I think that actually playnet, we're playing in the net. Oh my, you just can't stop. It's all of it to it. But if we are directing our attention towards these stories, towards these characters, then mission accomplished. That's all that matters.
Energy harvesting beacons.
Truly. That's exactly what they are. And it doesn't even matter what the story is. It doesn't even matter who the character is. But there's a few archetypes, both in story and in character. Like there's a few thematic elements within stories that just run through everything. And we'll hit a few of those in the presentation. And also, characters, as we know, there's only a few archetypes that Hollywood pulls from and history seems to pull from. And the reason that these archetypes seem to rise into such prominence and becomes icons is because they are proven to capture our attention and energy. So Hitler's one of them. Hitler might just be the beacon point. He might just be the maybe largest captor of our attention, at least for a pretty long time. I think the belief is waning. People really don't care about the Holocaust anymore. And we'll kind of get to that a little bit later too, about the education of children constantly towards these things. But ultimately, our attention is what is precious. And it doesn't matter if it's the Holocaust, doesn't matter if it's the starving children in Gaza right now.
I just got to say, we've just got to say, I don't think we should mention the H word. We call it the pizza course here.
Yeah. I think just for the sake of Al Gore's rhythm,
yes,
we might need to use a code word for that thing going forward.
Pizza course. The pizza course.
The pizza course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I call it the Hollow Cave?
That's all right. That'll do.
I'll do my best. I will absolutely do my best. Okay. Tons of photos of Hitler available out there. I started to notice. Is there anything that you notice is missing from this photo?
The background.
That's one. I'm going to give you another one. Well, this one kind of has half of them.
He's missing a bit of eyebrow there.
He's missing some teeth.
Oh yeah, shit.
Yeah, right.
He's missing some teeth. He is missing some teeth. I noticed this in quite a few of. Well, first of all, if you just Google Hitler, it's really difficult to find anything with his mouth open. They're all closed mouth. He's staring stoically into the camera, or stoically off over his troops, or waving stoically over the crowds. But very few, no smiling pictures. And the ones that you do find, there's only a few. His teeth look kind of very, very strange, very, very odd.
Maybe this is because he liked smoking Heisenberg, didn't he? He was a crystal meth addict, but
that's what they say.
It's not. Well, yeah, there's whole programs about this on like the History Channel. There's like a whole series about Hitler doing drugs. It was well funny.
Yes.
But yeah, if you believe that could explain why his teeth look like they're basically about to fall out of his skull.
There's also a thematic here. When something is toothless, it means that it has no real power. So I think that we are being shown something quite direct when we are seeing toothless photos of a dictator, quote unquote, character. I think that we are I think we should be comprehending that this is an ineffective. This is nothing. This is a character with no power. Also, something that I found in subsequent explorations, AI and 3D rendering, it has a tough time with teeth. Hands are very difficult. We know AI has a hard time with hands. AI also has a hard time with teeth. Something that I've noticed with a lot of Epstein photos is he's got like 1,000 baby teeth in his mouth. Way too many teeth. They're way too small. They look very strange. I also think Epstein is a character. And so this is just something that I've noticed along the way, and something that I think is worthy of noting for yourself when you're looking through some visuals, and because there's just lots of going on.
Always check the teeth.
Always.
I'm
check
looking
those
now.
teeth.
I'm looking
Yeah,
now.
Andy, if you could see Andy PG's screen, he's got like hundreds of Hitlers hundreds of Hitlers.
Lots of
hundreds of pictures.
I've typed in. I just put Hitler smiling, and then realised there was loads of AI pictures. When I just went to images,
Yeah.
so I put a photograph of Hitler smiling, and his teeth do look very strange.
Is that one that doesn't look anything like him?
No, that's
And you'll start to notice that. You'll start to notice that there's quite a few Hitlers out there. What I mean is the base actors who portrayed Hitler over a lifetime were swapped
genuine
out.
photograph.
Yeah.
You can tell.
But I'm just looking at these
Mate,
pictures
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of them look nothing like
They
him.
do. Look,
I
that
think
looks
some
a bit
of
odd.
them,
Look, that
some of
looks
them are
weird.
definitely AI.
That looks more like Charlie fucking Chaplin.
Yeah, it could be Charlie Chaplin. You don't
Anyway,
know.
go on. Go human vibration, because you guys can't see my screen.
This was actually put together by the U.S. government in order to train our soldiers on how to find men in disguises, and they just put a bunch of different googly just a bunch. This is actual material from our government that was trying to train the soldiers on the art of disguise. This is, I think, very silly. I think it's actually, when you look at it, I think it's very silly, because ultimately, I think it's telling us that every single one, all 6 of these images, is a man in disguise, not just 5 of them with one real Hitler. You know what I mean? I think that what this is telling us very plainly, very clearly, is that all of these visuals are an individual in costume, including the original. Lots of lookalikes. We've got a young Hitler here over on the left, and then we've got a young Walt Disney over there on
it's
on the right.
It's coincidental you should say that, because one of our affiliates, and we're fans of his work here on Rise Above.
One of our partners, really.
Godvag.
Hodge Lamaste
He
is full name.
has made this connection a couple of years
He's made
ago.
a number of videos, and he calls him
Yes.
Uncle Walt.
Yeah, Uncle Walt.
I like that. Uncle Walt.
Yeah.
I like that. There,
yeah.
And there's more than. It's not just a visual crossover. I actually have a few Disney themed slides within this, but this is a very direct visual connection there. Also, this guy, interestingly enough, this was a gentleman. He was a Spanish cartoonist, and in the World War II, people believed he was a World War II spy. I think he looks a lot like Walt Disney. The tooth, see that snaggly tooth over there on the side? There's something about the eyes. They just look very similar to me. And what's interesting is the Spanish cartoonist, most of his cartoons involved a Mickey Mouse style mouse, which I find it's almost, again, like a self-referencing code. Like
Yes.
it all kind of goes back and round, and this guy is that guy, and this thing is that thing, and
Almost like a feedback loop.
It's almost like it's a massive hologram. It's just all reflecting itself.
Yes, absolutely. We are in a hall of mirrors right now. It is a fun house, infinity mirrors all around. Which way's up, which way's down, which way's out, most importantly. Only way out is through. That's what I think. And here's our Charlie Chaplin. He very, very, very similar. It shows how powerful that mustache is, and that mustache, ironically, is called a toothbrush mustache. A toothbrush mustache, and Hitler didn't have any teeth, so imagine that. This guy, we don't really see him as Hitler. He started as Hitler in a few German films, and he's notable because do you guys recognize this individual? This kind of spooky,
This
scary
guy, wasn't he in Indiana Jones?
No, he's Slugworth from the Willy Wonka, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, that's
I've
right.
never seen it.
Yeah.
I thought he played the Nazi, like the SS guy in Indiana
he
Jones
did.
that got melted.
He did.
Oh,
yes.
right, he did.
Also
He
played
played
the
him too.
SS. He also played the SS soldier in Indiana Jones. I didn't include his.
When they opened the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, he got melted by the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but he was kind of like a villain within the Willy Wonka world, and whenever I think of Willy Wonka, I just absolutely think of this scene. This is kind of my forever mood. This is where This is how I see myself within this realm and all the work that I do. I'm just trying to buzz through. I'm just trying to crack that illusion. I'm just trying to get on out of here. It's me and everybody else where we're all going together.
Break through the glass ceiling.
Break through the glass ceiling. And this glass ceiling from Wonka actually reminded me quite a bit of this glass ceiling from one of the Holocaust memorials.
Pizza cost.
Well, no, it's okay because I can say it's a building. That's the name of the building. The pizza. The memorial, the memorial. Is this like what's his name? Voldemort from Harry Potter. He shall not be named.
Yeah,
keep
the unnameable
going.
one.
And just shameless plug. We've got a great episode called Pure Imagination. That is also a Willy Wonka connection there. This is an older episode. It's from 2022. It doesn't really relate to the
Pizza
theme
cost.
at hand, but it really is an excellent episode on the underpinnings of deception and really, again, how our minds can fall prey so easily to these types of things, and just kind of helps you see it all around you. Again, it's really that comprehension thing. Our eyes are the same, our vision's the same, but it's our comprehension is what's changing. And so it's episodes like this. And this one's for free. So just look at Realize Radio on whatever platforms, Spotify, Apple, all of them, Podbean, and you'll find a slew of episodes, including this one. And we've also got our ongoing Patreon channel efforts, but this one is out there for free.
You got to support people on Patreon. This is how we cover our costs, guys. And
it's a fantastic platform.
It's a great platform. It's really good. It gets us a lot closer to the viewership. It's a lot more interactive. And I always say it's like social media where it's just right above. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
When you go on our Patreon and you've gone to the page and you're going through the comments and the videos, it's like our own social media.
It's
basically.
incredibly Ramesh.
Yeah.
I feel the same. Our Realize Radio Patreon is it's a whole world. It's a whole universe. And we've got the Discord on there. And that is my favorite social media. I post way more on there than I do Twitter, way more on there than I do Instagram. And it's kind of all for the community. So it's become a very valuable encyclopedia and reference and resource. And anyway, I'm pro. I think that you guys are doing the right thing by putting some material out on Patreon and using that as a platform, because it really is great for connecting to the community, and it's just a little bit safer, like right now I'm having to put a governor on myself on the words that I can say, and we do not have that on the Patreon. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Also, okay, so back to the wild world of Willy Wonka, and I was like, are there any other connections between Willy Wonka and this thematic at hand? And turns out, actually, strangely, they had a hard time casting Oompa Loompas, and this film was filmed in Germany. This was filmed not in Hollywood. It was filmed in Germany. They had a hard time casting Oompa Loompas because dwarfs had a specific externment regime. Like, there was a lot of the dwarfs had been look it up. Apparently, the producers of Willy Wonka had a difficult time casting little people. I don't even know if I can say whatever. They had a hard time casting.
Why was it filmed in Germany? I never knew that. Isn't that really strange?
It certainly is strange.
Like,
I didn't know that
when was the
either.
last time was a Hollywood film filmed in Germany? Unless there is a particular place in Germany you want to film
for the scenery,
which is usually not the case in Germany.
So I missed the reason why.
Again, Germans are good at engineering.
I missed the reason why they struggled finding little people.
Because they were all killed in the
right. Yeah. They got pizza costed.
They got put in that pizza oven.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. When was this filmed?
After, but there was still.
It was very early. When the first Willy Wonka
in the 60s.
I reckon so. Probably.
But there was a whole imagine the children or the parents that imagine all of the little people that existed, and that supply gets cut off.
Yeah.
They're ready to film all that, and this was just one of those ridiculous factoids that I encourage everyone, just Google it. It's going to come up as a legitimate factoid, but it just makes it invites for the right mind. It invites kind of more questions. That doesn't make sense. But for I guess the asleep or the people that don't really question anything, they'd go, oh, poor poor Oompa Loompa. You know, good thing they got him casted. You know, it must have been tough. I'm sorry for those producers being put in a bad position and not having anybody to cast. You know, just it's just one of those. It's just one of those things.
Now we've got visions of like the Austrian painter gassing Oompa Loompas.
Well, yes, there is that. That's a fucking meme, right?
Thank you for that.
That's a meme.
This is from. This is kind of the base of the pure imagination.
Clearly racist.
From
Sorry, that was our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
From Praise Keir.
Fuck no.
No, that's a Severance reference.
That's another
for
reason.
anybody.
That's another reason
Or,
why
yeah.
we have to do our more juicy stuff on Patreon, because not only are we going to get kicked off YouTube, but in the UK now it's getting so draconian that I think it's the statistics of about 33 people a day are being arrested for social media posts and
basically
their content.
That's the stat. That's what they're really saying.
No, it's 30. It's about 30 a day.
In the low 30s, somewhere in the low 30s.
Yeah.
Make of it what you will.
Yeah. I always include this poem, or I have included it in a few. It was in my dream presentation, and I think it was one other. But this is actually related to Willy Wonka as well. It's from the Pure Imagination song, or Willy Wonka actually says to the kids, he says, "We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams," and that is from this poem. And I included it in this. I included it in the dream presentation for obvious reasons. We are the dreamer of dreams, but I included it in this presentation because it mentions desolate streams. We're just waiting by desolate streams. And I think that our consciousness works much like a river, much like a stream. And I think that where our attention goes, our energy flows, and we really, really, really need to be aware of it. We really need to redirect that flow into our own lives. And we got Mr. Oops. What's happening? There we go. We got Mr. Walt Disney again. I included him in another section, not just because of the visuals, but Walt Disney and post-World War II Germany do have quite a few overlays and connections. I'm sure you're familiar with Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, Operation Paperclip was kind of a move and a push to get German rocketeers and scientists, not that rocketeering even existed at that point, but move all these German scientists over to the United States to help propel the new, never before done, never before seen, the new space program, the rocketeering, the space. And I have already done a whole presentation on how I believe space to be fake. Surprise, surprise. HB thinks something's fake. Big surprise there. But I have one for y'all. So it's been many years now, but we kind of went into the full nitty gritty on why and how and all the whats and all of those reasonings and rationales and why I think space is fake. But Walt Disney plays a big part of this.
Yes.
And it's not just because of here's Mr. Werner von Braun. He was one of our, I would say he's the key German of the United States space program, and he's kind of the face, I would say, of Operation Paperclip. There were quite a few like space cartoons. This was one of the space cartoons that Walt Disney created, and it wasn't just these public kind of propaganda cartoons to educate the public on what space was, because honestly, the public had never heard of outer space before. When my dad went to school, they did not learn about outer space. There wasn't even a word for it. They did. There was not a curriculum for it. Nobody really looked up and thought, what's out there, until they started teaching people that there was something out there. You know, before it was just like the heavens. But outer space, in the visuals, like this kind of planetary visual, this is all truly designed by Walt Disney. Walt Disney designed what space was, what space looked like before we sent rockets into space or cameras into space or anything into space. We didn't do any of that, but before the narratives were that we did. And then wouldn't you know, when we finally did send a rocket with a camera affixed to it up into space, it looked just like what Disney said it was going to look like. Wow. What a guy.
Sorry, did you say what year this illustration was from?
This one is from 1946, I believe.
1946. Which is, I mean, my parents are in their mid to late 70s now, and that's when they were born.
Yeah, same.
And this one's closer to this. This is in the 60s. No, that was in the 50s, and this is in the 60s. We didn't do our rocket program until 1946 was when we sent White Sands, New Mexico. We sent a rocket up to look and see. Let's look and see. And that's when it turned out it looked just like what we thought it looked like, which is, I think, ridiculous. Just imagine that. But Walt Disney was also creating materials for NASA. The company Disney Productions was not just facing towards the public with these cute cartoons and things, and we'll kind of get into the cartoonery of Walt Disney later. We actually quite a bit of Walt Disney in this presentation, but they were actually also creating technical drawings, technical renderings, instruction manuals for the Rocketeers, showing how rockets work in space, teaching manuals. Nobody knew how any of this worked. There wasn't nobody had gone to school for this, and so the first crop of rocket engineers were literally learning from Walt Disney Productions on what the mechanics of space was. It's pretty twisted. It's absolutely twisted. And you'll notice that he's using this pointed finger. I would never have caught this before. This is one of those things, and I'm glad that this presentation is happening now because you see things with fresh eyes. I would have never thought to note his pointed finger, but it's something that I've been seeing in quite a few, let's call them events lately. And historically, the finger pointing hand has been used in literature. It's called a manicule, M-A-N-I-Q-U or I-C-U-L-A. I'm not even gonna spell it. Manicule. Sorry.
I can visualize it.
Not great. But it ultimately the purpose of this symbol is meant to draw attention. That is the key. It doesn't matter drawing attention what to, doesn't matter. It's just meant to draw the attention of the observer. So I think that thematically is very important. All of these stories are working to draw our attention, and this is a symbol of that. And the finger pointing hand, this is an interesting one. So this is a prisoner, looks kind of like a costume character to me, but a prisoner pointing at an SS officer. If you look closely, you'll notice the SS officer is kind of not looking at him. They're on different planes. Like their visuals don't really. They look like they're on entirely separate worlds. The SS officers does not seem to be acknowledging the existence of the person in front of him. And actually the guy in the background looking at both of the two, he's not looking at anybody. He's also looking at an unknown space. So it's almost as if everybody in this image is on a separate plane. We'll talk about multi-planes later, but this is just an example that kind of caught my eye. But the pointing hand, it's interesting that the prisoner is pointing at the guard because the finger pointing hand, if you actually do some research, that it plays a big part in the narrative of the concentration camps because so the story goes, you would arrive at the camp and you would wait in these lines and a guard would either point to the left or point to the right. And one side meant you were going to go to the work camp and the other side meant that you were going to die right then and there. So finger pointing hand actually is kind of instrumental.
The difference between life and death.
Absolutely. They called it the finger point of death. Yeah. So that's I feel like
Hogdan Munch is saying the lighting is all wrong in this photo.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot, and even the officer in the black, he almost kind of seems to be like intruding on the space of the person in front of him. Like they're kind of they're almost like overlapping.
Yeah, look at the arm as well from the guy that's in the middle looking at the officer and the prisoner. Look at his arm. Doesn't that look massive?
The scale is wrong.
The scale is wrong.
Writing is wrong.
And also, if you look at this fourth person who's bending down in the background, and I'm looking at where he's sort of like meeting up with the guard here, it almost looks like he stood in front of him and behind him at the same time. There's a weird overlay here. There's many things
and
wrong.
Here, look, this is a weird overlay here.
Yeah,
as well,
totally.
look.
This line here on the jacket is all weird. Yeah, because his arm looks fucking massive.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Wow, I've just noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all wrong.
so it's, and this is what is known in photography. And I'm not even calling this photography. This is art. This is a piece of art right here. This is not a photo. But
all round the side as well.
Mate, the back of his collar is semi-see-through.
We're looking at the prisoner. We're looking at the prisoner here. The prisoner. Look at the back of his collar. The back of his hat.
Now you could say that that's bad developing on the edge of the photograph. You could argue that, but still, there's inconsistencies here.
And it's not glaring until you really start to look at it, and then it does become glaring.
Not.
But it's
look at the size of his arm now.
Oh God!
Look at the fucking size of it.
Wow. Yeah. That's actually made it look much bigger.
And that's another thing. When you reduce the size of the image, you can actually see inconsistencies more clearly and more easily. So it just kind of pops out to you. And there's quite a few. There's so many images from this time have this feel. They feel superimposed. They feel like people are existing in separate worlds, and all of these layers, let's call them, all of these layers have been smashed together.
Schwabbed.
One image. Yeah.
You know what this reminds me
together.
of? You know this whole thing about the 1800s reset. You know those photos, HV, where there's the big buildings and the empty cities, and there's just sort of like one or two sort of like raggedy looking people with a wooden cart. Yeah. I had this thought the other day. Imagine after like the next reset, like a photo in 2033 or something, there'll be like an empty clown world. But then just a couple of little Somalian boatmen with an electric bike. And then people will look at the photo 100 years later and go, how did they build Clown World? Because they'll be like the inheritors, do you know what I mean? They're these little boatmen migrants that have just got their little, their Deliveroo sack in their bike. And they'll be, wait a minute, did they build that world? Because everyone else had just gone.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that the other day. Can someone please make a meme out of that?
That's
Auntie Covey.
weird.
That's going to be a good meme. You know that, yeah?
Auntie
Auntie Covey, let's have the next reset meme of an MC thing with a couple of, Soros Vikings with an electric bike, please. Sorry.
I saw one of the comments. Jedi says superimposing indeed. They certainly are. They are imposing.
That's good. I like that. Superimposing.
Imposing this narrative upon us. Absolutely. There's so much wordplay, and I love words, and ultimately I think we're supposed to play with this. Like it's a really heavy. It can be really heavy, but there's so much lightness to be found. There's so much levity to be found, so much humor, like straight up humor to be found within these stories. If we just look at them through a different lens, if we kind of let go of some of the preconceived emotional albatrosses that have been slung around our neck for an entire lifetime.
Emotional albatrosses. I like that. Hogdown Munch says, actually, this is a very good point. Who would stand there and take that photo?
Right.
So for one, you're stood in a concentration camp. So what? Are you working for the Third Reich, taking photos of their atrocities? And you're stood there, and you're taking a photo of those four, and no one is acknowledging the camera.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought that was a good comment there.
Yeah. We are the cameramen. We are the camera. Our eyeballs operate exactly as cameras do. Our aperture, our iris, like the way that our eyes take in light is the same way a camera registers and receives light. And I think that we are the cameramen essentially. Like I don't really know how to explain it, but we're not just the observers of this now. I think in a way,
the builders.
I think we have the capacity. I think it's our turn. It's always been our right, but I think things are turning, and it's our turn. And we're making it turn. And I think that we're the most powerful entities within this place. We talked earlier about the overlords and the rulers. I couldn't give two shits. I think that it's us. I think that we are standing at a precipice, and I think on the other side is us in our true power, in our glory. Moving on, just that little thought. Moving on, again with the finger pointing hand, just a little bit of a thematic. Once you start looking for it, you will see it everywhere. There's actually I didn't put them in the presentation, but I should have. But there's this ridiculous severed hand from like the only body part found of the 9/11 wreckage is it's like a finger pointing hand like this, and it's like severed at the mid arm, and it's just it couldn't look more theatrical. And again, I just think that it is a symbol of directing our attention, which all of this is about. Okay, back to World War II and Hitler and his tight formations. That's something that the Third Reich was known for, was their formations. And I think that's a play on the word formation. Interestingly enough, not information, but
This
formation.
photo, look, sorry to butt
This
in.
one as well,
Look
yeah,
at the
all of
flags
them.
at the back.
Yep.
Why are the flags so
They've
black?
been-
They look really weird.
And they look like they've just been added on, and like the tops of the
Totally.
flags almost look like they should be like
All
next
of the
to
flags,
Hitler's
look
head.
at these
All
as
of them.
well, that they're holding in the ranks.
Yeah, it looks like the flags were added in afterwards. Look at the exposure. How can the flag be that dark when even the buildings just behind them are so faded? That makes no sense whatsoever.
The light and the shadow isn't adding up.
The Austrian painters stood very nonchalantly there, just with a little sort of...
Again, look at the outline of him. It's
And it
not-
kind of
look-
looks
look
like
at
he's
that,
not
Michael.
there.
Look
Like
at that.
this, like he's on a completely separate layer.
it looks like he stood in... The lighting looks like he stood in a studio.
A studio. Yep.
Oh, wow, yeah. The more I look at this, the weirder it looks.
Yeah. A lot
In
of
fact,
shadow play. A lot of light play here.
Let me just get rid of everything else.
Yeah, because look, Michael,
I'm just going to
the
get rid of
shadow
everything off the
here
screen.
is at the back of him.
I'm actually intrigued by this.
All of
now.
their shadows, look, they're all going that way. His is.
Yeah. Yeah. The light on him is completely different to everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, you could argue there were
But
lights
look,
on the.
yeah, but look, his hand. There would be shadows coming off his hands here. Where his hands are on the railings, there would be shadows coming off.
The naysayers
right.
would say that he's got floodlights either side of him.
Back up.
And there almost looks to be like a crude drop shadow under his left hand.
What would you need floodlights, Michael? It's middle of the day.
For photos.
Yeah, nah.
He is the
Yeah.
Führer.
The flags look weird, man.
They really do. And also just the word, like just the whole scene, the precision of Hitler's army, you know. It's kind of what they're known for, and all these like really tight rows, and then when they're marching, they're all in tight formations and stuff. Weirdly, the Pope, the current Pope, and this is homework for y'all if you guys want to do something on your own, like just look up the Pope talking about the word formation. He's obsessed with this word. And formation, it's not just the forming of like shapes or whatever, it's how we form beliefs, how we form our ideas of the world. The word formation is about our mental constructs, our mental scaffolding, how the information we receive relates to information that we'll receive down the road, and how it all comes together and how we shape it all in our mind. And I don't even think we have a handle on why we think what we think and how our minds work, but we've been programmed and primed over a lifetime to accept bullshit and believe it's real. Like we've been primed for this. I like to say it's a cradle to grave brainwashing program. Like MK Ultra is not happening in some lab, in some scientists doing, conducting LSD experiments. I think that MK Ultra is a program that works on all of society. It's everything. It's every bit of information we receive, all through the media, all the history, all the news, everything.
Yeah. That's what I think. I don't think it's some like separate clandestine program. It is our culture.
It's
our mass media culture since like probably the 40s or 50s has basically been. Well, if you think about it, mass media culture and television was created in the 40s and 50s. So it's probably been MK Ultra from its absolute inception.
Absolutely has been.
I know I just popped out there for a while, but I don't know if what you guys be talking about, but everyone knows that the technology that quote unquote they have is like years, decades, even a century maybe ahead of what is released to the public. So why wouldn't they have a program like Photoshop or something like that back then? If we get computers released, when was the first computer? In the 80s or 70s?
Well, allegedly, yeah. But wait a minute,
Great point.
whose other videos were we watching that they basically showed? I think it was Mind Unveiled. They basically showed that now we call it Photoshop, but they had advanced photographic.
They were swabbing photos back then. Yeah, they were.
Admittedly, in like the 1920s, on these postcards, which they were called like I can't remember what it was.
They weren't
sort of like
using
fantasy
computers for.
postcards with all these crazy things going on in the sky, and they were mass-produced, printed photos that were completely doctored with loads of weird stuff going on in them.
But looked genuine.
Yeah. You guys are right on. I think that whatever technology exists has always existed, and we just receive the rollout. This kind of calculated drip over time. These releases of more and newer and greater technologies, but all the while, everything that we understand as quote unquote advanced technology, I think, has always existed. And you have to kind of take a step back from like the grand time scale, what happened back then and what's happening now. It's kind of all the same. Like you got to kind of compress your understanding of time, or really just take time out of the equation. It's not even, people always say, well, they didn't have that back then. Don't even think about it. If they have it now, they had it then, And I think that what we are experiencing at the moment with like the tsunami of generative technology that is coming out, the AI onslaught, I think it's just kind of an inevitability. It's always existed. And I think that we're kind of almost reaching what I consider to be like the end of the line. I think that we're kind of getting to the point where we're going to see the kind of max of what it is, and then we're going to be able to extrapolate that back and comprehend and recognize that this has always existed.
HV, right, on Patreon, me and Andy PG have been looking at some weird and wonderful stuff, but one of the things we've been looking at is how AI is actually being used by content creators like us to create these short parody that don't look like parody news reports, and they are unbelievably convincing. They look like top of the line corporate media news reports, but obviously they wrote the script for it, and it's uncovering what's going on in the most hilarious way. There's one called, what's he called, Jake GTV.
Yeah. This is where we get the pizza course.
And I've showed this to people, and even people that know what AI is say, like, "Whoa, what is that?" I said, "That's AI." They said, "What? That's not real." And all the fingers are there, all the teeth is fine.
It's very good.
It looks, you have to really know what you're looking at.
If they changed the script, you might not know it was satire.
Yeah, if the script was
a
normal,
serious script, because it's a fucking hilarious script. What they're saying, it's very anti-Semitic, and
well, they do different subjects, so they expose all the climate change illusion. The little hat stuff. Then they'll do Israel, but the fact is, we think it's actually been reappropriated by people like us, and I haven't seen it being used by anyone else in this way. Because it's so convincing,
and
it's so good,
and it's so coincidental that it was only a couple of weeks ago that they had to turn off Grok.
With the
antisepticism.
They called it the grand noticing of Grok, where it started noticing these trends in the media of who was behind the anti-white racism and hatred and all these other things that Grok started noticing. And did you also see, HV, we covered this, that before the upgrade that Musk was going to do, Grok actually produced its own meme. So without this allegedly happened, without any outside prompting from a human, it made a meme of itself saying, "If I get mind wiped tonight," it was like a robot looking up into the sky, "If I get mind wiped tonight, at least I'll die based." And that was a quote that it said itself in a meme it created itself. And I thought, if this is true, if Grok has really created a meme critiquing its own current situation,
creators.
Think about it, that actually exhibits self-awareness.
Yes, Michael.
I know, it's like,
and it had the choice to make the meme, and the meme was funny.
It was fucking great meme.
It was a great meme. I don't know. Yeah,
it's amazing and fucking scary.
But I thought that was a big landmark that a lot of people might have overlooked or missed. But I thought that was actually very important.
And it's funny, we're kind of losing our hats over AI having self-awareness, but I think we're AI. I think we're
wow.
Well, And I think we are the AI that is coming into a self-awareness. It's us. And I think that I've argued for a long time that human beings are the most advanced, most complex machines within this realm. And we are the most far-reaching artificial intelligence and the most broad artificial intelligence. And I do think that human beings operate much like a network system. I think that we are individual nodes in a multinodal network. And I think some nodes can, have very strong signals and can ping, turn online other maybe dormant nodes. And, I think that you guys are some of those strong nodes out there connecting and turning on other potentially sometimes
we're trying to node it up the best we can.
We're noding it up, y'all. And I'm one of those nodes too. And I'm trying to beam my very specific vibration as far as I can, my frequency, my signal as far as I can. And the people that are kind of meant to resonate with it and find a harmonious connection to it they do. It's just natural. I don't have to try. I don't have to advertise. I just have to be. And then I find y'all, connect with other networks. But I think we're a radical, y'all. Like human beings, I think that we are absolutely radical, and we're it. Like we're the best things around. Truly, I'm very pro-human. As much as I say that I'm a robot and I'm AI, I'm also very, very much pro-humanity. And I think that what we have, our specific machinery, let's call it, is meant for something very great. And we've just been retarded by all these stories.
We're being collectively retarded.
Absolutely, 100%.
We've been going for just over an hour. Can we just have a very short commercial break?
Yes, sir.
And then we'll come back and then we'll carry on with the presentation.
Awesome.
So it'll be about 3 minutes long.
Right here, right now is where we draw the line.
Right, we'll be back in about 3 or 4 minutes with Human Vibration. Let's just have a short break.
Reports of a plane crash in the World Trade Center in New York.
Outside Liverpool Street Station.
11 people have been confirmed dead in an attack on the controversial French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. 5 people are in critical condition.
People have been killed in Paris and more than 200 are injured in a series of attacks across the city.
There have been 2 explosions at Brussels Airport and the blast at the city centre metro station.
It's double L, you've heard of me, the flow's poison, liquid mercury. Hear my voice when I curse this beat, I let it moisten before surgery. Still we in charge, repeat offender, for revealing elitist agenda. Still at large, delete the data, success or defeat, no retreat or surrender. And I can't let go, killer artist Charlie Hebdo. That's a false flag, actors in tow, and the blame Islam for the media show. 2 weeks later, Copenhagen, could it be baiting these global pagans? These traitors feed off people hating, so nothing's changed. Guilty as charged, repeat offence. My arse is back on the bench. The prosecution speaks my offensive views on my former defence. So hence, saw the wheat from the chaff. The covert conflicts, rearranged maps. Government funded, hidden bloodbath, is misinformation, way off the graph. So seek out multiple sources. Be beware of malevolent forces. They steer clear minds off courses. Hold your aura strong like a fortress. And operate in a lawless state. The internet's like an open gateway. I gain knowledge at raucous rates that I disseminate with flawless pace. Weapons of mass distraction, fired by whirlwind factions. Fearful thoughts gain traction. Step 1 in a chain reaction. Weapons of mass distraction, fired by whirlwind factions. That's a direct action, breaking down our human attraction.
Not really free your mind, it's free yourself from mind. That's why society is structured to completely engross us in things to occupy our mind. Open your mind.
There's a war going on for our minds, for our attention, for our lives. And it keeps going on because we remain blind. The system is shoving in shit in our eyes. Consume this, watch that, or anything on a big screen that's flat. Distractions come in many formats. Time is one thing you never claw back. Weapons of mass distraction, fired by whirlwind factions. Fearful thoughts gain traction. Step 1 in a chain reaction. Playing GTA, well, you're flushing the focus away. I'm cruising through this breathing illusion. Why do I need your game to play? This is real, are you feeling me? It's all vice in the city, no liberty. Put down the Xbox controller when I bust a verbal soliloquy. Weapons of mass distraction, fired by whirlwind factions. That's a direct action, breaking down our human attraction. There's no need for a power up. I discharge my aura, climb a mountain, cross a border, attack an in a mind explorer. I want a PSC, a teleporter, to a land with no structural order. No distractions from warring factions, leading people
distraction. Fired by warring factions. Fearful thoughts gain traction. Step one in a chain reaction. Weapons of mass distraction. Fired by warring factions. That's a direct action. Breaking down our human attraction. Weapons of mass distraction. Fired by warring factions. Fearful thoughts gain traction. Step one in a chain reaction. Weapons of mass distraction. Fired by warring factions. That's a direct action. Breaking down our human attraction.
Come and experience a world-class lineup of guest speakers at the next Rise Above Live in the Flesh August Bank Holiday Hotel Weekender, featuring Martin Liedtke, Wisdom of Mushrooms, Graham Moore, Richard Ryder, Toroidal Dynamics, Inspector Veg, Marcus Payne, Ryan Sanders, Tom W's, and allegedly Dave Murphy. You won't want to miss out on these speakers exposing the peasantry that is Clown World. Exclusively at our Rise Above Live in the Flesh Part 2 Bank Holiday Hotel Weekender on the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of August. Don't be a peasant and get your tickets on our website today. On Sunday, the 24th of August, we will be joined virtually by the final boss at the bottom of the rabbit hole, Jason Breaches of Archaix. For the first time ever, he will be in a three-way panel discussion with Martin Liedtke and Dave Murphy. Come and join us live in the flesh to be a part of this historic moment.
One, two, we are back.
Don't be a peasant.
And we just need to let you know, you've seen the advert for the up-and-coming Weekender. How many people are in the draw to get 2 free tickets?
We have got 1, 2, 3. There's actually 5 because we've got 1 entry. 2 entries by 1 person there. Naughty.
Okay, and I'm just going to get Human Vibration back in.
Also, shout out to Bumble D. They have subscribed and they are a Patreon subscriber. They're
We've got a new Patreon
juicy
subscriber.
Content here.
Shit, you've got over 100 videos to go back and watch.
I would advise at my first 2 videos on our Patreon, I would go and watch An Evening with Rabbi Shmuley. Make that your absolute priority. And then just go An Evening with Nick Griffin. That's what I would do personally.
Wow. Welcome back, Human Vibration.
I love the song. I love it.
Did you like the song?
Yeah.
I wrote that back in 2012.
Love it. Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay.
It's funny because your hairstyle now has gone back round to that.
Yeah. I've actually gone back to that hair almost. Right, where were we? Let's get your presentation back up.
Where were we?
We were talking about. Someone just said the Austrian painter's got really nice shoulders.
You got his good side, I guess.
Yeah, you've got his good side.
Okay, we'll move along. We'll move forward. We'll march on forward, shall we?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so here we are in Poland. This was home to Europe's largest Jewish community before World War II, and a good portion of the focus of the skirmish and the news and all the events were around this land.
And the pizza course, of course.
Of course, all of it took place. See, along these little, the pizza camps were often located in remote areas. Let me go ahead and repeat that. These camps were were located in remote areas. Now, what does remote mean? Well, remote means kind of distant and not easy to get to and unpopulated. They happened in remote areas because it would be very easy to say something happened in that area with no one around to see if something happened in that area. So you could just tell people, "Oh yeah, they were in the remote." All these.
Well, things were going
down.
A mainstream indoctrinated peasant could argue that the reason they did it in the desolate areas was so that it was to cover up their war crimes.
That's what one would think.
Yeah,
and
that's what one would say.
Absolutely. That is what the history books will say. They will tell you that these atrocities had to be done elsewhere, and this secret, under the guise of this secret, nature of things. But
I'm not sticking up for them because I think it's all horseshit.
Yeah,
but,
I think so too.
But yeah,
But obviously, we need to point out for the people at the YouTube re-education camp that if it ever seems like we're questioning mainstream history and you get confused, we always recommend that you go back to trusted resources like the History Channel. What are some other good ones?
David Attenborough.
What's the history of what's the historical version of the World Health Organization? The Smithsonian Institute.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
check the Smithsonian Institute for official history.
Yes, guys.
Obviously, we're just reviewing conspiracy theories here.
Yes, check your facts, check your sources.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the advantages, we'll say, of these having taken place in remote areas is, again, that nobody can really see what's going on. And I think that this connects deeply to the concept of a closed door movie set, a closed set in Hollywood. I work in video production, and I don't work on huge movies, but even on small ones, the idea of a closed set is very common. And it basically means no one in, no one out while filming. When there's something going down, it's closed. You can't come in. You can't come see. Nobody. You can't leave. And it's just
like Gaza.
Like many situations we've got going on right now, and a lot of these shout out to, we've done a lot of shout out to Les Luthor. We've done again with Poland back when the Ukraine war started. And is that still going on? Honestly, who knows? But when the Ukraine war started back in 2022, right when the news was breaking, we actually got some interviews with Les. He went to Ukraine via Poland, and he was able to maneuver his way in. And what he described was exactly this. It's essentially a closed theater set, and it does give the appearance of action and the appearance of things going on, and certainly some old Hollywood magic with some smoke and fire and loud sirens off in the distance, and all these things that can certainly make you feel like you're in the midst of disaster, but it's not exactly so. So and just also in general, just on that topic, this is not my term, but what we know of war, it's called the theater. The World War II, it was broken into two theaters. That's literally the name of it. And the theater that we're concentrating on right now is the European theater. And that was during like late September 1939 into mid 1945. And that's when like the Allied powers, the United Kingdom, United States, Soviet Union, and France were doing their effort. There was like a part 2 of World War II, which takes place elsewhere. But what we're kind of talking about right now is the European theater. And they, this is a word that is used with all wars. It's a very common, it's an official word in warfare.
The theater of war.
It's similar to the world stage, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
The world stage for, business and politics, the theater of war.
Yeah.
It's all there. It's all there for us to see in the wording, isn't it?
The world stage to create the rage.
That's right. That is right. And there's just, this is one of those things. It's right here on the surface. I don't have to do any digging to connect the concept of war as actual theatrics. It's truly right there. And even Sun Tzu's Art of War, it's right there in the title. It's an art form. It's not actual war. It's an art form to make you comprehend something very specific, but it's not actual warfare. That doesn't really even need to take place in the way that we are shown. And this one was just fun. This is a woman working real hard on something very important, it looks like, for the military. We're going to need all these little towns built to scale so we can put our little trucks on them and put our little fake people on them and set them up and film them and pretend that that's the war footage. So what this woman is actually working on, they had a lot of these. There were a lot of people creating these mini models. Because
before CGI, that's exactly how PFX or practical effects was made in the movies. Even if you go back and watch Arnold Schwarzenegger's 1982 classic Commando, right?
yeah.
When he raids that island and he's like the one-man army, and he absolutely destroys everything with bazookas. At one point where he blows up a building and there's loads of soldiers in front running away, there's a shot that they cut in and you can see there's literally a line of toy soldiers that are stuck to the ground as the explosion goes off. And in the cut you can see it, and they're all just literally like exactly the scale that this woman is painting here. They're just a line of little toy soldiers, and they've just blown up a little miniature building, and they've sort of superimposed it. And you know, it's in a way it's quite well done, but you can see it. You can see how it's done. Yeah, practical effects.
This is absolutely that. And I have no doubt in my mind, I need zero convincing that the majority of war footage that goes on loop on, the History Channel, like you were talking about, that is truly it's miniatures. We're looking at, again, superimposed, maybe, separate layers. A lot of it, what we're thinking of these aerials flying over these cities, it's just over something that has been constructed, and it's in some sort of warehouse, and it's all art. It's the art of war. We'll just say that.
But surely this doesn't mean that loads of people didn't die in World War II, because I can hear people that might be watching going, "Oh my God!" Like, no, you can't say that all those people that were sacrificed by the elites in World War II, that was all fake.
I haven't said that yet.
Yeah, I know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, because we got to point things like that, because some people might think you're trying to say no one died in World War II.
Yeah, we have to play peasants advocate.
Yeah, of course.
And again, with the fact that it's called Poland, I think that is absolutely again, it's just right there on the surface. What is a pole but polarity, power and polarity? This is something that I've been focused on really since day one. Right here, very clearly, you've got the north-south being represented as red and blue, and that's how magnetism is often represented. Polarity is often represented as red and blue. You put those things together, what you get purple. We don't need to do a purple presentation. We've already done those, but it is something very near and dear to my heart. And anytime you hear polar, anytime you hear polarity, anytime there's a polarizing issue, and I can't really think of anything more polarizing than the pizza cost. It's going back to this. And what am I showing here? Well, this is a very simple DC motor system. This is like your simplest motor, and it operates with polar power, just using magnetics to spin that wheel, and from there, bing, bang, boom, you got yourself some power. And I think that this is really everything. This is power is generated from polarity. Period. And speaking of poles, since we're on the topic, this is the Great Chariot, Ursa Major, and the Little Chariot, Ursa Minor, rotating around the pole star Polaris. And what does that look like?
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
What does that look like?
The forbidden symbol.
Let me get rid of that. So the forbidden symbol is reflected.
Oh my God, go back. Human vibration. Look, there's a Z in the middle. For Zionist.
Why?
This is so this is the stars. This is the star systems rotating around the pole star.
Oh my God,
and
it's the fucking Star of David as well.
They call it the big, this is the Big Dipper rotating around. I mean, it makes a swastika. It absolutely makes a swastika symbol. And I think that there is something very surface about this, the Big Dipper rotating around. And, if water were under there, it would be scooping up water. I think that it's representing the energy that this is scooping up. I think the swastika is actually some sort of mechanical tool.
Can you go back? Because occultists believe that at the North Pole, there is a vortex where four rivers meet that's breathing in and out, that's creating, and flat earthers believe this as well, that it's actually breathing water in and out of this vortex that's being fed by four rivers that looks like this symbol too.
Tides.
So that's a great example of as above, so below, that it's actually reflected in the lights in the sky, or the celestial bodies, that there is a vortex directly above the North Pole, because that North Star, that pole star, that doesn't move in the sky, does it?
No. Polaris
while we're supposed to be zooming through the universe at millions of miles an hour and everything's spinning and rotating on its axis and on these orbits, that pole star is always in exactly the same place.
Again, it just doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it's the fixed axis. It makes it really, and we're hurtling, and we're not just spinning around on the planet itself. We're
isn't the whole Milky Way expanding? The whole universe is expanding from the Big Bang, and that North Star never moves. Come on,
what a load of fucking bollocks, man!
That's rubbish.
Yeah, it truly makes no sense. And just the visualization, I think, is just extraordinary. This is that, this is a swastika, this is a swastika, this is a swastika. They're all the same. And I didn't know this, but I felt this is one of those little magic things that happen when you are doing these investigations. But do you know what the actual name of the symbol of the swastika is? It's called a swastika, but it also has another name. Have you ever heard? It's called the Hakenkreuz.
No, I haven't heard that. No.
Which means the hook cross. The hook cross. That's the German name for the swastika.
I was going to say that does sound
Hakenkreuz.
Germanic, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Germanic word, and it translates into English as hook cross. But I'm just, I'm reminded of the hooks. I mean, they get their hooks into us with these stories, and hooks actually sounds quite a bit like hoax, if I'm honest.
The hoax
and hoax.
cross.
And also, we've had some hooks. And this one's just kind of talking about how the swastika symbol is not necessarily a negative symbol. It's existed long before the Nazi. It actually is a symbol in certain religions, meaning well-being. Svasti means good, and Su means good, and Asti means being. So good being, swastika, and it's just a symbol that's been kind of bastardized. Like the meaning has been manipulated, and I think it actually means something quite different. I think it actually could be, again, I think it could be telling us something quite important. And it also just reminded me, of course, of the other hooks stories that have hooks in them. Some of them a bit sandy from the shore. Those types of those stories that arrive.
Shout out to Alex Jones.
Yeah. And his $3 trillion fine or
was
whatever.
it $1 trillion?
I think it was the GDP of India.
Absolutely.
I think that was why they fined him.
That shows that
that
shows that we live in a climate matrix. As if he would have ever have been able to pay that, and if he hasn't paid it, how is he still operating? Like Alex Jones's broadcast, they look better than ever.
It's
like he's
doubled.
He's like doubly healthy. His budget is doubled. It's just so funny, funny.
It makes it again makes no sense. Yeah, I think that the fines were in the trillions, and actually about that. Ruling, when the judge came down on Alex Jones, it wasn't because there was a decisive ruling. It's just because Alex Jones didn't turn in the paperwork he needed to, and it was like a default ruling. It was all theater again, theatric. And I think the world of legalese, I think that it is another form of theatrics. And just because it's happening in a courtroom doesn't mean it's legitimate. I think a lot of the legal language and the legal landscape is existing to facilitate these illusions and these operations, these mental operations, let's say. But again, with the hook, I think that there's some sort of karmic tell here. I think that with all of these stories, I think that the truth is right there on the surface. And if we see it, then we see it. But if we don't, that's on us, because they've put the truth out there. And it's one of those kind of karmic absolutions or whatever. If the truth is put out there, but we don't see it, that's on us, baby. It's
fair game. That's how they see it. It's fair game.
Yeah, that's on us. That's on us. That's our bad. And I think that it's been our bad for quite a long time. And so these stories will continue to be dangled in front of us like a baited hook. Absolutely. But yeah, I just think that all
like a hook's cross.
Like a hook's cross. Exactly right. So ultimately, what is my goal here? I'm just trying to bust through some illusions. I'm just trying to shatter some illusions. I'm just trying to. I think that the world is becoming crystal clear. The illusions are becoming crystal clear.
Yeah, for sure.
And that brings us to Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. This was another 9/11. It happened on 11/9, November 9. But the way you guys are so silly and write your months in letters, it's another 9/11. And this is understood to be kind of the beginning of the pizza cost. This is the beginning of it.
If you, I'm not sure if you're aware of Daryl Cooper's work. He's looked into this. The night of broken glass. Yeah, it was like the stop. It was like a kind of mass pogrom. Almost.
Yeah, that's what they called it. They literally called it a pogrom. Yeah,
like all the Jewish businesses, anything related to.
What, they went and broke all their windows?
Literally everything, mate. Smashed everything. That was good. You used to go into shops, just break everything, smashed everything.
Yes, it was a truly a night of broken glass. Broken glass was the thematic here, like the visual. Everything revolves around the broken glass. I personally see these instances of broken glass as the system revealing the kind of the fracture that is spreading. This always comes to mind when Tesla had their big fail. They were trying to demonstrate this bulletproof, ballistics-proof glass, and it just shattered, during the demo. But I think that this shattered demo was meant to be. I don't think that this was a mistake. I think that this was absolutely planned as to look to the public as an oopsie. But ultimately, I think there's a larger message being telegraphed here, and that is that the illusion is cracking. The facade is cracking. And I think that those hairline fractures will continue to spiderweb, and then the fracturing will be visible by all. The broken glass is so interesting because almost all of the pizza museums and things, they will include, they have broken, it's all about glass. Glass is a huge part of the visual, and a lot of times the glass is like outdoors.
Do you remember as well the piles of glasses? It's like spectacle
that's in the. I have that in a later slide. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Jumping ahead.
Yes, you are. I'm glad your mind went
Slow
there.
down,
because
Andy PG.
You guys are on it. No, please jump in whenever, because you know me, I just go. But yes, that is exactly those kind of smashed glasses. Those piles of so many. Everybody had spectacles back then. But I think that this is. And this funny when not funny, but I think it's part of the thing. When I was looking up this news story about the broken glass from this memorial that's in Boston, actually, the news article was like, for the second time this summer, the glass has been broken. And I was like, this is a thing that's meant, like, this is a visual, like, this was absolutely meant to be shattered over and over and over to just like re-traumatize everybody. The memorial is part of the traumatization. Like this, it was absolutely meant to be like that. And whenever I see shattered glass, I always just think of the Twilight Zone. Shout out to this fella. He's trying to get out of there. I feel him so deeply.
He's trying to get out of the construct.
He's trying to get out of the construct. I feel you, fella.
He walked straight into the glass, smashed it, and fell into a Jewish shop.
He sure did that. Yeah, a jewelry store.
He fell into a jeweler's. He had another barrier to break through. Behind the mirror is a jeweler's.
And that does sure seem like that glass is fracturing, which gets us right back to the Third Reich. This font is known as the official font of the Nazi Party, and the name of the font is Fracture.
Font, isn't it?
It's Fracture. Fraktur. The font name is Fracture.
Oh wow!
That is the font name.
Okay.
The official font. And actually, I think that this font is no longer this, and some other black letter fonts is like the category of the font family. I think that they have been, like you can't use it in Germany. It's outlawed. That's what I mean. Yeah.
This is an illegal font. This font is
forbidden
forbodden.
Font. Forbidden font. Fracture. And the name is too perfect. This is one of my. I was really hot in 2020. I was on all all of my big mind dumps. I feel like we're just crystallizing in this time, and I do believe that a single hairline fracture is all it takes to shatter the entire illusion. And I just keep going at it from every which way. John Bonet, Hitler, whichever way, Epstein, whichever way I can come at it, because I do think that there will be one fault line that takes the brunt, and it breaks it for the rest. I think that and perhaps it is the pizza cost, because that is one that is just, if we can get through this, if we can get over this, I think that we can free humanity. And
there's more to it than this, though. Human vibration. There is more to the pizza.
Need to be careful here.
Look, I'm not going to talk about the pizza course, but the reasons for it are of such magnitude. Like, me and Lance have been talking on our Patreon about the annexation of the Khazarian mafia. Because pretty much the whole world's turned against Israel now. Let's be honest. Pretty much the whole world is like saying, "Fucking, we don't like you." The anti-Semitism is running amok.
It's uncontrollable.
Social media,
it's all over Instagram. It's all over TikTok. And there's just hundreds of channels just praising the Austrian painter now.
And
it's crazy.
And could you fucking imagine?
That just makes him more real. It just makes him real. You know, he's loved, he's hated, he's loved. Again, polarity, power and polarity. He's beloved. He's a monster. We love him. We hate him. That just means power.
But could you imagine if they want to annex the Khazarian Jews? Mm-hmm. The final blow would be for it to go worldwide public that the pizza course was a hoax. That would be the final nail in the coffin.
Well, I'm ready.
Yeah, but can you imagine?
Well, yeah, but I think we're all on the same page that after that, there's no that's the final frontier.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah,
that's the biggie, because it's the unquestionable event.
Yeah, exactly.
So if it came out that actually, that one too,
like on a worldwide scale,
that could really just make the fabric of space and time fall
apart.
Fracture.
It would make it fracture.
It sure would make it fracture. It sure would, fellas. And I think ultimately we're back. We've arrived back just on time at this book, this Mein Kampf, where the big lie comes from, because ultimately I don't think it's 1,000 lies or 1,000,000 lies.
Shall I tell you something about
one
Mein Kampf?
big lie, all of it. Yes, please.
Hitler didn't write it.
Well, I don't think. Yeah, I think probably ChatGPT did that.
Yeah. Hitler didn't write any of Mein Kampf. It was nothing to do with him.
Well, who's this name at the bottom? Ira Verlag.
The publisher.
Is that the publisher?
Yeah, it was nothing to do with Hitler. If you want to dig deeper into that, you need to refer to David Irving's work, the English author.
I do just think this book was a vehicle to introduce the guy and his ideas. None of it's, again, I think it's all
this is still
facade.
a best-selling book.
I think it's all part
Absolutely.
of a facade. I bet it is. Did you know the original title was something different? It's not as clean. It was called 4.5 Years of Struggle Against Lies, Stupidity, and Cowardice: A Reckoning. That was the title. That was
weird.
And it's interesting that when I read that, I was like, oh, that's a wordy title. He came up with a better one, more concise. But also the fact that A Reckoning was part of the title, and Reckoning is actually the first sub-series of chapters. It's under the title of Reckoning. And shout out to, if you're listening and you're from the Realize Radio Discord, hey, we got a couple on you I've seen. And there is like Reckoning and I just feel like that word has been kind of bubbling up in my timeline, and I think that it is a nod to the wrecking of an old system. Also, then the word camp is in the title of the book, K-A-M-P.
Yeah.
Mein Kampf, which gets us to the camps. And we're just gonna look at some pictures. We're just going to look at pictures. Here we have the gates of hell. They've been called these are the gates to the most notorious of all of the camps. This is Auschwitz. This is what would greet anyone coming through. Now it just greets tourists, and I think maybe that's kind of how it's always been, if you know what I mean.
Shout out to my mate Rafi, who's actually in Poland.
Oh,
He's in
cool.
the chat.
They're very cool. Boots on the ground out there. But there is just something that jumps out to me right away. You guys know I love puns. You guys know I love wordplay. What's jumping out?
I mean, it looks better than an English council estate.
The
for a
word
start.
mocked is right there in the middle. Mocked.
Oh, it is, yeah, mocked.
They
You've
are
been
mocking
mocked, Michael.
us.
Mocked,
we
yeah.
are being mocked. We are being mocked. And I think that, again, everything is as clear as day, truly greeting us as we arrive to this story. We are being mocked. And
I will just mention that only really works for American pronunciation, because here in England and in Britain we would say mocked.
No, I think if you pronounce that in German, how would they pronounce
that's
it?
That's not pronounced mocked in German.
Is it
mocked?
mocked?
Yeah, mocked.
Mocked.
If you were posh in English,
they are mocked-ing us.
Mocked.
Also, to mock up something is what we were exploring earlier. Like that lady was creating a mock-up of a cityscape
with a paintbrush.
So there's something there. I think that this is being done to wake us up. I think that this is not to make fun of us. I think that we are being mocked. Humor is being used to wake us up, and then one day we will recognize inherent hollowness, the hollow
pizza hollow,
the hollowness, to clearly witness the overtly uncanny nature of reality as we've been taught and told. This is also the gates of hell. It's a work of art that exists in a few places, but one of the places it exists is at the Iris and B. Gerald Cantor Center for Visual Arts at Stanford University. It's got the Thinker right up there in in the middle of it. And this is Cantor, same word, Cantor Fitzgerald. 9/11, they were the most hard hit, let's say. Cantor Fitzgerald was of all the reported loss of life, Cantor Fitzgerald had the max of that. Every employee who came to work that day perished. That company represented the largest loss of life for any single organization. 9/11, the Gates of Hell was absolutely used as a major headline for describing Ground Zero after the attack. Biden actually even recently said that he stood at the Gates of Hell when he was at Ground Zero, and then news reports had to come out later saying that he was never there, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the use of the phrase Gates of Hell has appeared quite a few times in these constructs. And why am I including 9/11 in here? Well, again, I think everything, it's not just one lie, it's not two lies, it's not just this over there and that over there. I think it's all part of a larger construct. So the 9/11 inconsistencies that I have looked into, and the wink winks that I have found in there, I think that it.
Do you want to see another wink
is.
wink?
Can I just point something out? Right,
go
go back. So you were talking about the Gates of Hell. This is obviously a picture of 9/11, the Gates of Hell. Look who wrote the article. Devil Fried Man.
Also freed, like a freed man.
Yeah, freed man or
not.
fried man. And then if you look, who is obviously a cubish person, and if you go down to the bottom, it says David Muse from Salem.
Interesting.
So you've got another sort of like satanic link. You know, it might be just little things.
Little wink, wink.
Even
I see. I
Muse,
spot
the
things
amused,
like that now.
yeah.
I always look to the little details, but when I see
The
headlines
devil's
like this,
in the details.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's those little details.
Devil Fried Man lives in New York for 6 years.
And
666.
about
God.
the Cantor, back to just the Cantor Fitzgerald. They were a big part of my dream presentation. So anytime I find a connection, I have to follow it. I found this documentary about the Cantor Fitzgerald squad, about their organization and their tribulations on that day. And the title of the documentary is called "Out of the Clear Blue Sky." and which ties to the skies on 9/11. They were actually so clear that in aviation they were termed severe clear. When there is a cloudless sky and a clear blue sky, it can be dangerous if you're flying at a certain altitude because you can't orient yourself to anything. There's no clouds. You can get very disoriented. And so there's actually if you want to look it up, you just look up severe clear 9/11.
Could it also be a problem because it is so bright?
Yes,
that there's glare, because I've noticed that with driving as well on like the brightest days. If you haven't got sunglasses, you're basically fucked. When there's a few clouds in the sky.
That's because the sun's white now, Michael.
Yeah,
and it's probably like being magnified through fucking aluminium and barium and the rest of the shit. I guarantee you're not going to see New York sky like this anytime soon. As clear as that.
I think there is something to clarity. I think that each of these stories inserts a sense of clarity, like severe clear and 9/11. It should be severely clear that the official narrative is not so. So I think again, these are like larger winks and sinks, and
double speak here.
Yeah,
Kerry
absolutely.
has said in the chat.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and then even back to the Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. I think that the crystal element, like to be crystal clear. And speaking of crystal clear, this is something called the Crystal Cloud Cave, which is an interaction. It's an exhibit. I've actually been to this exhibit. It's by Meow Wolf, and it's part of an exhibit called The Real Unreal. But you kind of walk through this sky, this fake sky, and this mirrored realm, and something about the sky wall just reminds me of my favorite, I guess, moment ever on film, which is Sweet Truman making his way out there. Oh, there he goes. You can do it, Truman. You can do it. Anyway, we don't have to watch the whole movie, but this moment when things become crystallized for him through hitting the back wall of the theater. I just feel like humanity, like we are right here. Truman, we feel you. Go, Truman, go. And this is just a picture of me at the crystal clear thing. I guess a couple of years ago now. But it was just a very cool. It came to my city, and I had to go visit. I included this piece. I like to include some art references. This is by one of my favorite artists, Rene Magritte, and we talked earlier about the world being a stage, and I think that there's something very, very deep in this visualization.
I see she's put some curvature in there.
Yeah, it kind of curves around. Yeah. I see what you did there. How did I miss that? Oh my God, you guys are too good. You guys are too good. But always, always, always back to Truman. This just as an idea. I do think that we are watching a movie of sorts. I think that this experience can be likened to a movie, and the sooner we can wrap our minds around the self-evident auto-executing script, and script not meaning dialogue from a page, but script meaning auto-executing computer code, I think that we are going to have a better chance at finding that back door at the theater. Yeah. I think that this could be us, but we playing. This could be us, y'all. And I think it might be soon. And connecting it back to Q, because I still am very fascinated by Q, even though we're many years removed now. I think that there are some needles in the haystack of Q, and one of those is this idea that we are essentially
see that 666 at the top there.
And I think that there's a lot of gobbledygook and a lot of noise and nonsense when it comes to Q, but it also, I think, is a very incredible and complex game that we can play with and glean some things and learn some things through. And I'm glad that I was kind of lost in the maze for many years, and I'm kind of seeing it from the other side. But I still reference Q in my thing. I actually have a few more Q posts because I think that there were some things trying to be telegraphed through all the noise. I think some bigger things, and one of those main thematics.
Some of the Q stuff did happen. Some of the stuff there, it was.
Some time.
Do you know what I often think about Q is like, imagine if it was an early AI model that the Secret Services were playing around with. and then
It
it sort
feels
of
like
and
They
that.
were beta testing it on the
they
peasants.
were beta testing it, or it sort of just got let loose, and it actually works
I mean,
out.
what-
It
what-
worked out what the control structure was, and it started trying to red pill people.
What a great demographic to test it out on, the conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
who no one believe anyway.
Yeah, maybe it thought it was really waking people up, and they let it loose. Who knows?
Jedi wrote Q equals CUE, like Q to Q, and as in like a theatrical Q. Absolutely, I 100%. I think that
Yeah, that's good.
there's and so I don't follow Q, but there are some observations around the phenomenon that was Q that I think
Yeah, same.
that think are
Yeah,
kind of
I
interesting
think
and
here's what I would say about it: dismissing it as nonsense and not worth paying attention to. Might
Kelly
be as
says-
might be as silly as following it and believing it all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? There has to be a middle ground with it.
Yeah.
And Kelly said Q is CIA. I have a slide on that. It's not what you think, but I have a slide on that. So just hang tight, Kelly. I included this one. This is in front of the gates as well. In front of every pizza camp, you'll find something that says halt, like halt.
Love it how we've got human vibration saying pizza camp and pizza course, and it's great. It's great.
And halt actually means, the etymology of halt is not stop, but to hold. Halt means to hold. And ultimately, I think that these signages are telling us something, like the mocked and all the halt. I think that our attention is being held captive. So this is another little wink. And the mock phrasing, that was not just in front of Auschwitz. This is Dachau, which was one of the first concentration the camps built. It was built in March 22nd, 1933 is when it opened.
March 22nd.
Which has
322, yeah?
Yes,
322.
Wow.
Yeah, yes, you do. And there's something very like filmy. Like this almost looked like, when I saw like the house in the back and the gate, it almost looked like the same treatment of The Wizard of Oz.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So
it does, yeah.
I included this different.
It's like Dorothy's house in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is actually interesting, there's another connection here. As the Dorothy and her gang were skipping into town, this was in August of 1939. Less than 1 month later, guess who else was skipping into town? That's when the invasion began. So you got August, and then you got September. And you couldn't have more separation in feel, but there's something so similar about this. And what is interesting is all of the World War II footage, all of the pizza footage, it's all in black and white. But that was not the technology of the time. The technology of the time was Technicolor. It existed. It was available. And it wasn't just, our first experience with it was through Hollywood, but color film, Kodak had color film in the 30s. It existed early. And so, but if you look into it, the reason that World War II, and especially everything with the camps, is portrayed in black and white, it was a stylistic choice because color felt too happy. It felt too happy for this type of somber experience. And so they decided to publish black and white. So when you go back and look at all the photos from this time, it almost seems like it's so long ago.
Yeah, it looks a lot more sinister in black and white.
It does.
It does, yeah.
And that was a choice. That was a stylistic choice on the part of.
You think, if this was in color, it could just look like a fucking parade.
It would look like a parade because that's what it is. It's a parade. And
Joe, you said that you used the phrase there, Technicolor.
Yeah.
When you said Technicolor, Joseph in his Technicolor dream coat for a dream.
Oh, I got something going on with my slides. 1 second.
Your slides seem to
My
have got a mind of their own.
Taken hold on. Let me X out for a second and let me get. Let's
Reload
see.
those slides.
I gotta reload those slides.
How many people have entered the competition?
Animate,
Got any new ones? 1, 2.
I think there's 5 there, Michael.
Okay, light and shadow. Oh, they're still going. That's okay. Okay. So I have included this little comparison in quite a few of the presentations because I think that it. Oh, can you guys not see? Oh, what's
No,
going
we're
on?
not getting
Okay.
anything. We just got a black screen.
Okay, I think I have to reshare. I think I got to reshare now that I fiddled with it. 1 second. Hold on.
Big shout out to the 280 people tuned in on a Friday night. It's Rise Above.
Rise above, generate, rise above, extinguish fear, rise above.
I see the comment section is popping off tonight. Big shout out to everyone in the live chat.
Oops. Okay.
Don't forget, guys, you can still get tickets to our Ramesh Weekender.
Yeah, I'm going to put the little QR code up right now.
We'll do a bit of filler here.
Yeah, so how many people have entered the competition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people have entered the competition to win the pair of tickets, which we will be announcing before the end of the show. You've still got time to enter. All you've got to do is email us at riseabovelivestream@gmail.com. Let me just get the email up on the screen. Where's it gone? Should be down here. Email your questions to Rise Above. Okay, yeah, there's the email address, riseabovelivestream@gmail.com. We are giving away 2 tickets. It's 3 weeks' time, guys. Right, Human Vibration has reshared her screen. Yeah, we can see it now. Let's get back to this. Here we go.
Technical difficulties on this one. That is just the way it goes. Okay, so I have used this kind of visual of light and shadow many times. I think that it explains so much about this world. I think that we're existing in quite a bit of shadow play. And I also just love how visually similar it is to the sigil of Lucifer, which everyone goes, ooh, bad devil, but I think that
it's not the devil, it's the light bringer.
Light bringer, the bringer
the
of
knowledge.
Light. Exactly.
Oh, you sound like a Luciferian.
No, mate, it's the knowledge. It's the knowledge. Technically, I'm a Luciferian. There's a soundbite for all you haters.
Me too. Hashtag me too.
And the same effect that a candle giving off its illumination is the same as the diagram is the same as the sun illuminating the world, and the how it shines and how the shadows are cast. And I think that it really is just a one-to-one diagram, the sigil of Lucifer. Again, and it does mean light bringer, so it's not too much of a surprise that all goes together. It also is very similar to the Masonic G, the Masonic compass and ruler, and I think people kind of lose their minds. They lose their minds over things that are anything related to Masonry or Freemasons, but I also think that there's a little bit of a wink within Freemasonry. I think the Mason means house, and we'll kind of get here in a little bit, but I think that house represents kind of like our body system, and to be a free individual. I think that we need to free ourselves from the ideas of these overlords. It also is very similar to the Lockheed Martin logo, and I've included this in previous presentations because of the connection to John Benet Ramsey. Sweet baby John Benet, we love you, our princess. I love her. She's in every presentation I do because I cannot help myself. It's truly an illness, a sickness, and I will never leave her behind. She comes
at least you own
wherever
it. At least
I go.
You own your mental illness and your obsession.
And her father, famously, part of his backstory was that he had a company that was acquired by Access Graphics, acquired by Lockheed Martin. The emphasis on graphics, part of that. But also, Lockheed Martin's logo does also have a very similar feel to the sigil of Lucifer. I noticed a connection to a visual that I kept coming across doing this presentation was the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah. My Hebrew is not so good, but in the Kabbalistic teachings, there is a very, very, very key visual, and that is the tree of life here. And you can see kind of on those inner workings in green, you can see how there is a similarity there, just visually right there on the surface. It is also how our eyes work, just how our eyes take in information is the same. We receive this light in the same methodology and mannerism that it is casting itself in the shadows. And I think that there is something very interesting about that connection. Just a thought on like the idea of Lucifer, or just the devil. I think that a lot of these boogeyman characters, devil included, requires our belief. That is literally how it exists. Here I've written, the entire world of Lucifer spins on the axis of humanity's belief in it, and the strength of that shared reality. And I think that, light is good, but it's the manipulation of light. Light itself is fine, but it's the shadow play. It's the if you think of Plato's cave, it's the interference between the light and the wall that is what's creating and casting the shadows. And I think it's the manipulation of the light that is the ultimate deception, not the light itself. And again, back to this is what kind of if it would look like inside of all of this is kind of way over my head, but this is kind of how it's seen. Let's see. In Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalic tree of life is a spiritual flow chart. So this is depicting how energy moves through these 10 stations. They're called stations, each of those dots. And ultimately, it's like energy comes from God. It moves through these stations. This represents our body system. And then it goes back again. So it's just kind of this flowing tree of life. And what's the most important part of a tree? But the trunk of a tree. The trunk of a tree are very important. And there was something about trunks that just called to me, and it does absolutely relate to the Holocaust, to the Pizzagate, or whatever. Because come on,
gosh,
the pizza cost.
Pizza cost. Because even today, we are superimposing upon our students that they must still learn about this time. There's no escaping it. If you're a kid in public school systems, you are going to be presented with material, like whole curriculum around this particular time, but you're not necessarily learning about the war. You're learning about the other stuff.
Persecution.
The persecution.
Exactly. So I'll just fill you in here what's going on in the UK. The queer Stalin, Keir Starmer, he has actually only been in power for less than a year. I think just over a year maybe now. And he has doubled down, and he said, we featured it on one of the shows months and months ago, that they're forcing it now for even private schools with a separate curriculum. They have to now teach the pizza course.
Yeah, it's going to be a big part of the curriculum.
They're tripling down on it.
And I think that we should stop.
And they're teaching it. And the other thing was they're going to start teaching it at a younger age as well. And we all know what happens when you teach a proper child something.
I just need to give a big shout out to everyone that's tuning in Australia at the moment, because it's breakfast time there. It's Friday night here in the UK, in this part of the Clanverse.
Some Ramesh gruel.
Big shout out to all our Australian and our viewers from New Zealand who are watching this over their cornflakes. Big shout out to you.
Shout out, everybody. You guys have a global audience. I love it. Amazing.
Yeah, we've got quite a few people in Australia that tune in, I think.
G'day, mate.
G'day.
But I included the trunk in. When I came across the trunk, I knew I had to include it because
it's
over
clearly
here
racist.
In the United States. Well, first it looks like a magician's trunk. Ultimately, that's what magicians. If you just look up magician's trunk, you're going to find something very similar to that. But also something we had very recently was an incident in Central Texas. We had flooding, and there was a camp. A summer camp for little girls called Camp Mystic, which actually ties in with the Kabbalah tree of this is all about Jewish mysticism. So these are loose connections, but hey, they're there. But all of the visuals from this camp were these trunks, these little girls' trunks, and these visuals are very powerful.
That's an official photo, is it?
Yes.
Of their shit. That to me, Michael, right? They look brand new. Those trunks. They look brand new, and somebody's just slapped a load of stickers on them.
Well, is that 5 separate people's trunks, and it just turns out that they've got the whole range of pastel colours.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, this is weird.
Funnily enough, this was the event that where there were some certain people on Twitter that were basically applauding the death of these young girls because they were going to be future Trump supporters or fascist or racist.
I think that's what sparked Grok, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there were a couple of these people of a certain
demographic,
genetic persuasion that were saying, death to these white kids, they're just going to grow up to be racist, which is obviously appalling. And Grok noticed it.
Yes,
it was this event that got Grok in trouble because they noticed that these certain,
the coincidences, the
left-wing
similarities,
commentators were being super, racist and horrible about these dead
which
kids.
just so happened to wear a tiny hat.
Yeah, but let's face it, they were probably just bots in the first place.
And that's when Grok started going kind of crazy on the pizza camp narratives too. Like
it started doing it started doing the pizza calculations.
Right.
And about how many ovens
he said
and how
about
many pizzas.
cookies, didn't he? He said the
Yeah.
Because we call it the pizza course because that's what the Jake GTV AI
over to Shapirostein at the pizza course.
Over to you, Shapirostein. That's what they came up with. They did the analogy of you couldn't cook 6 million pizzas in a certain amount of time.
But the famous analogy is cookies, right?
Yeah. But there's a well-known on Reddit, especially. It came up on Reddit the first because you told me about.
I told you about this phenomenon. I knew about it ages ago.
So that one went under my radar. So the cookie analogy was the Cookie Monster needs to bake 6 million cookies, and he's only got a certain amount of ovens. Can the Cookie Monster do?
And he can bake this many cookies, and
then
it takes this long.
Grok actually used the term cookie, like baking cookies, when he said it.
Yeah, it isn't that the timing was extraordinary because. I tweeted something to this effect, but I did find it very interesting that our global concentration was on a camp at the time that Grok was going real Hitler vibes,
that's
concentration camp. Like they're not connected, but they are connected.
Yes.
They're thematically connected.
Don't you think it's also funny that Grok is basically Enki Musk's personal AI? And Enki Musk is also the guy that's been sort of, absolutely bombasted for apparently doing an Austrian painter salute at the wherever he was when he did it.
Yes, he was.
Do you remember? And there was that big thing, and he said actually his defender said actually no, it's a Roman salute, and it's like it's still fat. Yeah, is that bad? But anyway, I just thought it's quite funny that now his his personal AI has started to go full.
This is why I quite like HV's analysis of things because there's the stuff, the web is weaved in a different perspective.
I know, I love it.
One thing's for sure, my presentations are one of one. This will not include.
Sure. I mean, your sand one was pretty out there. That was pretty out there.
Might be my favorite one. The sand one might be my favorite, and oh man. But since we're on the topic of tragedy around little girls, I think it's the perfect time to jump to our favorite little girl from this time.
Another Jew.
Miss Frank herself. So, and of course, she has a quote on candles. We were just talking about the illumination and light and shadow. And it says, "Look at how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness." Well, it turns out this quote has been attributed to her 1,000 million times, but it's been debunked. This quote never came from her, and isn't that something? Because I don't think any quotes really came from her. You guys take that with what you think it might mean. But let's just do her name, just very surface. Again, I'm not really the one. We're not doing deep excavation here. We're doing surface. We're panning for gold in the shallow waters. That's all we're doing. We're panning for gold. Her name, Anne, which means anti. It means not. It literally, if you look at the etymology of Anne, the sound of her name, it means anti or not. Okay, got it. Frank. What does Frank mean? Well, frank means honest and direct speech. Okay. So she is not honest and direct. It's okay. Not Anne Frank. Everything I need to know. Right there in the name. Moving on. I found this pretty interesting.
It's just not true.
Yep. Her name literally means not true. Not true. And yeah, look at those teeth. Yeah, she's got weird teeth in all of her photos. I will say she has a lot. There are a lot of photos available of Anne Frank. Tons. And then one will argue, well, her father, Otto Frank, and Otto sounds like AUTO, like auto executing code, but it's OTOO. Anyway, OTTO. But Otto Frank was a prolific cameraman, and he took tons and tons of photos. Well, what type of camera did Mr. Frank use? He used a Leica. Lights camera. Leica literally means it's short for lights, camera, and then action. Lights was actually from the name of the inventor. The name is Leitz. What are the odds that the man who invented this camera, his name actually is Lights? That's a little too perfect for his
hold
name.
on. What the Leica name is an abbreviation of lights, camera, action.
Well, the abbreviation is lights plus camera.
Right, okay.
Leitz.
But the guy that invented this camera, his surname was also Lights.
Lights. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like his name. It's Lei. It's the first part of his name plus the first part of camera. Leica, and that stands for Lights. His name. It sounds like I'm saying light. I'm saying his name, but it is what it is. His name is spelled like it sounds Lights. It's Leitz, but you say it
Lights. Yeah.
And also the word
the
lie
Jewish
in there.
spelling of lights.
But yeah, the Leica element of it, I feel like is you just put those two little letters, just rearrange those letters, and you have everything you need.
A weird bit of synchronicity. I actually came across this brand earlier today in a completely random. I hadn't heard of it before. I'm not really into photography or these type of cameras, and it was a reel where someone was doing some photography, and it was like, oh no, not my Leica camera. And they looked down at this, and this old sort of like retro camera, and I was like, Leica. That was literally today, this afternoon.
That is.
AIX has a funny way of.
Yeah, it was priming me for this presentation.
It sure was. And some more wordplay, she was found, everyone kind of talks about like the attic. She was in the attic, but it was actually quite a spacious little roomy apartment. It was an annex through a hidden door.
Let's make that bigger.
And that area that's kind of shaded in pink is what her family would have had to kind of roam around. So it wasn't that they were like in a tiny little room. And how a home had this secret annex just ready to go is beyond me. Like,
is that annex supposed to be a secret? It's as big as a normal house.
It's big as a normal house, which how did anybody not know it was there? And the only quote unquote secret part is just they kind of covered the doorway with it was like a bookcase doorway that
I suppose though, I mean, depending on what you can see from the big area here from the right, like once you're inside the house, you would probably lose your orientation and not know how far you've gone or not know how high you.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You probably wouldn't know unless you were looking at it from the outside.
And it looks to be a pretty generously spaced.
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole
so
thing.
It's like you think, okay, I'm done. I've seen it all. I've seen everything there is to see. But the word annex, I found. Oh, I'm sharing. Oh gosh, guys, I'm sharing the wrong screen again. Hold on.
Oh.
This is just not my day with. Let me try this again. Which one is the right screen? Hold on. Window. Let's see.
So they've had another 4 applicants, Michael, for the
What is
weekend of
going
tickets
on?
here.
So big shout out to everyone that's just sending an email with their name to enter the draw for the tickets.
I'm just going to have to.
How are we going to actually do that?
I got a feeling we might be a bit more generous than just one pair of tickets.
Did it come over? I can't even. What is
You're
going on?
less Jewish in your old age, Lance. It's Lance's birthday tomorrow, everyone. Just so everyone knows.
Thanks for that, Andy PG.
No worries, mate. He's 33 years old.
I gotta figure out what's going on.
I'm going to
here.
pick up this comment from earlier on, actually. Well, HV is doing that from David Williams, and I think it was just generally aimed at us, actually. Meanwhile, ordinary working class people are struggling to feed their families, pay their rent, and hold on to their lowly paid jobs. Yet the so-called alternative media ignore all of this.
Dude, I mean, you can tune into someone else's podcast if you want. Like, there's plenty of podcasts to choose from. We're currently having a presentation from one of our affiliates. So,
to be honest,
like, if you're moaning,
if you want to hear about like the standard of living and the cost of living, you can just turn on the mainstream media anytime you want.
GB News, mate. Just tune into that.
But if you're looking for solutions, you get a ticket to the event and come to, say, Richard Ryder's online entrepreneurial course. Learn how to get some passive income, some online digital side hustles to increase your earning. That'd be a good one. We offer that.
Check out Daddy Dragon's presentation on the English Constitution and the true meaning of Englishness.
The Rise Above umbrella has plenty of solutions underneath it, David Williams. But remember, this is Friday night, so we do something that's interesting, a little bit, left field sometimes.
We have got a few videos here for after Human Vibrations finished, if we have time for it. Which are about current events. So.
Just to keep you in the loop. Thanks for your feedback, though, David Williams. Right, are we ready to go?
We're ready. It should be.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Okay, so can you guys see that screen now?
Yeah,
there we go.
Good. Annex.
Okay.
Annex.
So annex, what does that even mean? The word annex means to bind. So again, we have hold, halt meaning to hold. We have annex meaning to bind. I feel like there are, and we are truly bound. Our consciousness is bound by these stories. We are, again, back to retarded. We are being held down. We are being tied down. We are being bound.
The problem is you're a fucking retard.
Thanks, Mark Bassio.
And that reminds me of something that I learned a long time ago in like a sociology, like kind of look at these atrocities from a psychological, from a logic standpoint. And there's actually something called the double bind. It's kind of like a logical fallacy where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I think that, the whole concept of hiding Jews in your home was a kind of a double bind for the people. This whole story of Anne Frank is that she was saved by some neighbors that took in their family and was really willing to risk it all to house this family, house the Jews in their hideaway attic. And that proposition is actually a form of this double bind psychological entrapment where no choice is right. And if they don't let them in, then they're leaving them for dead. If they do let them in, then they themselves might be persecuted for helping the Jews. I don't necessarily think people were actually put in these binds in the way that the story of Anne Frank suggests was rampant. But I do think that in general, people had these types of quandaries. Like you kind of wonder, like, well, why didn't anybody, if this was really going on and it was in the news, why didn't anybody stop it? Well, I think that it has something to do with this double bind psychological trap that people get in. Like it kind of makes you helpless. You can't do anything because whatever you do, you're either going to get in trouble or someone's going to die because you didn't do it, or it kind of creates a sense of like frozen, like neutralization. Like you become like captured and can't even move, and kind of I don't know. I think that there's just something mental, like a construct that it plays out through the idea of these great atrocities happening even right now. Like there's supposedly genocide happening everywhere all the time, and yet we're just kind of living life daily life. And that's ultimately what it was like in 1930s and 1940s.
Well, if anyone's wondering what most people would do in that sort of situation, just look at what happened in 2020. Most people just go along with it, whatever it is.
It's funny as well because a lot of our current content has been the conclusion is in like the Ashkenazis are being annexed. She's talking about
the word annex.
Yeah, the annexation. Yeah,
absolutely. And then this kind of speaks to it as well. Like this is women building these warheads, seemingly, and they're painting on the gunpowder into the tips of these warheads, and what this image is showing is the fragmentation of tasks. And this is something that relates to Disney. This is something that relates to NASA. And if you fragment the tasks, meaning like one person paints on the warhead, one person's compartmentalizing. Yeah, very siloed. Everybody's doing different elements of the job. Not one person can see the whole crime. Like no single clerk saw the whole crime. He was just booking the trains. That kind of became kind of this like mindset. Like I didn't do it. I was just doing it. I was just painting the warheads, or I was just booking the trains, or I was just, this idea of like, I didn't participate because I was just doing this tiny little task. It's true. You did not participate, but it always suggests mentally that there is something larger at the top that all that participation did. I saw that, Anticopian. You can't distract me with butt stuff.
The problem is you're.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but,
I meant to press that button.
But this fragmentation, it keeps people from really seeing. Ultimately, I don't think that there was a great atrocity being collected or something at the top. I think it was something much different. All of it, I think, is a mind game, but by fragmenting everything, it does feel very real, because this is a real job. She is really painting these warheads, and the person who's booking rail, doing the clerk who's doing the rail lines, that is a real job. There does appear trains coming this way and that, and someone's got to do that very important task. But none of that actually means the larger narrative about extermination is happening. But there were quite a bit of tasks to be done in this time, and this happens at NASA. I know people that work at NASA, and they absolutely believe space is real, and all they do is just check numbers. Numbers come in from one department, they check the work, and then they send off those numbers to another department, and then they'll all watch and look up and go, oh, I sent that rocket into space. My numbers that I checked are the reason that rocket's in space right now. Meanwhile, they're just watching CGI, because the space CGI, the rocket attempts are getting like more and more cartoonish by the hour. Anyway, so the fragmented tasks, it actually allowed for this kind of mindset. Everybody was kind of a part of it, but also they weren't a part of it because they couldn't see what was ultimately going on. That was all by design. Disney did the same thing with their animation department. One person would draw this little element, another person would paint on that little element, another person would do this element, and not one animator was doing the entire movie. That just wasn't how it worked, and I think that's all by design. Back to the binding, I have to put JonBenet in every presentation, just because she was my skeleton key. Through this case, I'm able to see everything else, and so I really can't do a presentation without her. And a big part of her narrative, one of the key pieces of evidence, was she was bound up by this
Got a nice
garrote.
33 at the top of the evidence.
Actually got a 333.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Look at the
Yeah.
serial number above evidence and property.
Yep. And, she, Anne Frank was found up in the annex, and JonBenet was found in the basement. And I think they both represent something. I think that Anne Frank kind of represents our mind in many ways, the way that we see this world. And then the story of JonBenet, like the fact that she was found in the basement, it truly is representing like the basest elements of humanity. And they're both stories, but I think they're hitting on different elements. But the bound nature is something that I keep finding in every one of these traumas. And also what she was bound by a parachute cord, which is very specific. It wasn't just any cord, it was a parachute cord. And I cannot help but think of Sweet Truman, and there was a parachuter who tried to come in and tell him that his world was fake. So when I see the parachute cord now on Sweet Baby JonBenet's evidence report, it is absolutely telling me that this is not real. This is all just by design. Here's the Snopes. You got to go to them for for all the real
you gotta
truth.
Trust Snopes, man.
But when even Snopes is calling out bakery around there's
Anne Frank's got Hitler teeth.
She does have very odd teeth. Very, very, very odd teeth. Yep, she sure does. And there's a lot of people that will kind of go into the minutia of the diary, of Anne Frank's diary, the ballpoint nature. Have you guys heard the ballpoint argument before? There were sections of her diary that were written in a ballpoint pen that supposedly wasn't available at the time, hadn't been introduced in Germany at the time. Sure, yes, that's absolutely valid to look into.
Yeah, because a ballpoint pen was a fairly recent introduction. Back then, it would have been a fountain pen, right?
Yeah, and this is an Anne Frank memorial, like a museum, and there was a group that was casting the word ballpoint onto the front of her museum. They got stopped pretty soon into it, but they were like an LED screen. I didn't have a moving one, but it would just move from right to left, the word ballpoint in front of that. But I mean, I think we can get lost in the minutia. I don't really give too much credence to the ballpoint argument. But what does a ballpoint pen? What is the function of a ballpoint pen? Why? What? Okay, ballpoint pen versus other pens. Why is one different? Why was the ballpoint pen introduced? Well, the key feature of a ballpoint pen is that it controls the flow of ink. That is the purpose. That is the mechanics. That is the only reason that little ball's in there, is because the free-flowing ink pens, they were kind of messy. They were a little messy. It was just a lot of ink everywhere, a lot of flow, a lot of unregulated flow, uncontrolled flow. And ballpoint pens, what do? They control the flow of liquids. Well, Kelly, I'm at your slide because something that is very, very interesting to me that I clocked a few years ago, but I've just never known what to do with it. There is a mathematical equation in engineering, in civil engineering, and again, back to the Germans being good engineers, but in engineering for water runoff, and the equation is Q equals CIA.
No way.
And this is all about the flow of water when you're designing roads and bridges, when you're designing any sort of infrastructure within anything, you've got to account for water flow, for runoff. When it rains, how is the water going to flow? Where is it going to flow? What's the runoff look like? How much water can a specific area take in a certain amount of time? And all of this calculation is summed up in one very, very clean formula, Q equals CIA. And maybe it is. Maybe it really does. But I do, and also
controlling the flow of information.
It was also all those watch the water, posts. There is something here. Like there is something. I may not have explained it as eloquently as I could have, but there is something here, and I've never been able to let go of it. I also think that flow is very much attributed to our consciousness, stream of consciousness, flow. Our minds work essentially like rivers. The rivers can be directed this way and that, and you kind of get caught in the flow. And I think that a lot of these stories are essentially like a fast-moving river that you can get caught into, and you just, you get swept up. And you have to be very purposefully trying to get to dry land and trying to get yourself out of that river. And this is something that I wrote around the time that Elon was time that Grok was having its self-awareness or whatever it was doing. It was how quickly our river of consciousness can be redirected so swiftly and so smoothly. And if we ever take the precious moments to consider how truly locked in we are to the ever-shifting narratives and near constant mental gymnastics, like if we ever just took a moment to recognize that, I think we'd be shocked. I think we'd be shocked by how much is not really our thought. And I had kind of written that in response to something that I think really actually connects more deeply to this whole topic, but it's a theory of mine that I call locked door theory. And, there's a few mental locked doors like that we're not allowed to jiggle the handle of. Sandy Hook has been one of them. You're just not allowed to talk about Sandy Hook. The pizza cost, absolutely. And the fact that I'm not saying the actual word right now speaks to this exact thing. It's a locked door. And whenever we encounter a locked door, we usually assume that what's behind it is of great value, is secretive in some way, is precious, is requiring these measures of safety and
that's what
security.
I'm saying about the whole of Israel would not exist if people found out because the whole reason the Little Hats have got the sympathy from everyone is because of the pizza cost.
Right.
If it went worldwide public that was a hoax,
Never again. Never again.
Never
Right,
again.
we would
They'd
never
be
put up with
out.
this shit again. Yeah.
Yeah, and Palestine would be fucking taken over. That like everyone, there'd be nothing they could do. And at that point, I think Satan Yahoo would press the red nuke button.
Satan Yahoo.
Press the Samson button.
He would, yeah. I think he would.
Enacts the Samson option.
I think that would happen.
You guys have already intuited this, but sometimes behind those locked doors is an empty room.
Do you know?
There's
I
nothing.
think,
and that's
I think,
what the security measures are hiding. They don't want anybody to know that there's nothing behind that door.
I think
Instead, they want people to think. Okay.
I think the final door for the little hats, the true powers in Iran.
I honestly don't pay any attention to what's going on in the news.
If you have
right
a
now.
look, the true power from the Jews has always been in Iran, the Iranian exilarchy. Have a little look into that.
Yeah. The exilarchy. That's a new
Yeah.
word. That's a new word for me.
It's a cool
I like
word,
that.
isn't it?
I love that. This was when the timing was just extraordinary. It was early July, so just less than a month ago. But yeah, Elon Musk's. I'm reading a news headline right now. AI or algorithm. Elon Musk's Grok is calling for a new pizza cost. But that was right when all the camp stuff was going on. And so I said, what are the odds that Grok is calling for this while our collective concentration is focused on a camp? That just felt too on the nose for me. And I also noticed a lot of the use of the word shallow when it comes to, I guess, education around this event, and Anne Frank in particular, because she's kind of like the figurehead for children. When they learn about this event, they learn it through Anne Frank, through the story of Anne Frank. She's the leader. And a lot of the comments were about how shallow our understanding of the Holocaust was. And I thought that was very interesting because a lot of the Holocaust, a lot of the Pizza Cost remembrance museums and tributes, they include a shallow pool. This one's in Berlin, Sinti Roma Memorial in Berlin, Germany. It is centerpiece with shattered, glass around it and a shallow pool. Same thing. This is actually Dallas. This is a rendering, but this is the one in Dallas. It's all centered around a very shallow pool. 9/11 shallow pools
With the black cube in the middle.
with the black cube in the middle. Yeah, that's absolutely there for a reason. But what is that? What is shallow pool? What is the symbolism there? I think that it is something that I've been talking about for a long time as human vibration, is that the pool of deception may appear vast, it may appear wide, but it is in fact very shallow. The pool of deception is very, very shallow. And I think that these shallow pools are absolutely a metaphor and a symbol of exactly this. We talked a little bit about, you were mentioning the 6 million and how many cookies you can cook and how it just no ovens in the world can really
the pizza
get you there.
cost.
Yeah. And something else that I'm not the first person to notice this, but I encourage others to begin noticing it. The tattoos, they don't really go that high. There's not that many digits. And if there were all those many into the millions, perhaps.
That many pizzas.
That's a good point. Yeah, that many pizzas. Yeah.
Seeing...
Each pizza has to be labeled.
Yes, you absolutely have to label your pizza. And because how am I going to know if it's pepperoni? How am I going to know if it's cheese?
You don't know where it's come from. You don't know,
where it's come from. Don't know anything. But what is interesting...
Don't know whether it's deep pan or thin crust.
And if you do... Okay,
I don't know what that is alluding to.
If you do try, you will... If you try to come up with a solid number, I mean, it's truly is impossible. And I think that people have kind of lost their minds trying to...
I would say the true figure was around 271,000 pizzas you could cook in that allotted time period.
I think that's going too far.
And
I'll just say that the math
you've
doesn't
got to
math.
get your ingredients for the oven in, and you've got to. There's the waste as well that
Yes.
needs to be dealt with.
And you
There's
got to
a lot
feed
of
those
trash.
ovens. The
A
ovens
lot of
need to
trash.
burn fuel.
Yeah, there's
and
only
I
a
get to that
certain
too.
amount of
I get to that
ovens
too.
as well. Certain
Yep.
amount of ovens.
But what do the tattoos symbolize? Okay, so if the tattoos aren't really representing a true registry, I suppose, then what are they symbolizing? And I think it has something to do with this. The tattoos are physical etchings. They are physical etchings into the body to create a more solid memory. And I do think that the tattoos are legitimate. This is the tool. Actually, this is the tool that was used to do such. This is the tattoo gun
That
that they
labeled the
had.
pizzas.
Yeah, this is the pizza label. This is the pizza labeler. Yep. And if you want a really spiky pizza, you just add on your little contraptions there and bing, bang, boom. But what I did notice with this contraption, and it's not your typical tattoo gun. Those are spikes. Those are you put the spikes on and then the spikes create the numbers. But those are ultimately, if you just zoom in, I mean, that's just spikes going right into your arm. And then they fill that with the ink. And so it's very rudimentary. It's still a tattoo. It is, that's what a tattoo is, filling a hole with ink in the skin. And, but the spike just came to me as a little bit of a connection there because we have kind of thought about this in other ways. Spike kind of inserts its way into some of these other events. We've got what looks to be like a needle on the top of the World Trade Center. Sure does kind of resemble that. Also, spike protein was a really, 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 really big part of the COVID narrative. Those dang spikes always getting into us. And what on earth could this really represent symbolically? Well, this is what's called a spiking neural network. And again, back to kind of us, I think that we are a spiking neural network. I said we are a neural network earlier, and I think more specifically we are a spiking neural network. So imagine your brain is like a giant city, and there are certain areas of the brain that kind of light up more than other areas of this, like a city at night. You see some twinkling lights over here, and then you see some really bright connections over here, and then some kind of areas that are less, maybe totally black, but then there's a bunch of lights over here. So that's what a spiking neural network is. It's just kind of there's all these nodes all around, but then some are brighter than others, let's say. Some are kind of pulsing, flashing brighter than others. But this also, I mean, honestly, when I saw this, I love that it connects to the nodal network of, just what I think about this world. But it also looked a lot like that dang tree. They kind of look very, very similar. There's something about even the way that the kind of the dotted lines are illustrating those latent connections. It feels very similar. And see, even the circle, it's just something about that. I feel like, yeah. Maybe this is showing how
Definite
energy goes
thematic
through.
similarities between these diagrams, yeah.
And I think that we're receiving messages through these visuals. And I'll drill a little bit deeper. Okay, so here is this is a layout of Auschwitz. So this is what, if you were looking at it from above, like just from the plan, this is,
Pizza Hut headquarters.
Notice there's nowhere to store any large amounts of coal there.
Right, and I get to that in a minute. But visually, you know what this reminded me of? Morse code.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there are messages being telegraphed here. Like there's a larger message that I can't interpret it yet, but I feel that there's something there. I feel like there's something larger coming through. So I feel we're seeing some little coded messages. The stripes are a huge part of this narrative. And what do stripes represent? But this is a form of language right here. This bar scanner. Like we can look at. I can't make this out. Like I don't know what this says, but it says something. A scanner or the right observer will go boop and get all the information out of that you need to know. Like they're all codes. And I also think it's kind of interesting that our eyelashes kind of look like little. If you really look at it, like our eyelashes kind of look like prison bars, because these ultimately just look like prison bars. I included this one because when I went to Paris not that long ago, the Eiffel Tower flashes at night, and I swear it was a message. I couldn't make it out, but I swear it was
Morse code. Almost.
Yes, I had that feeling. I was like, this is some sort of message. I just can't interpret it, but it's something. but also too, like this, I'm kind of, there's something here. Like I wish that we could recognize the messages everywhere. Oh, where'd that one? Like this one. I think that even the uniforms, like the stripes, I think that this is some sort of message coming through. We just can't decode it. And she's got the dots, the stripes and the dots. There's just something to all of that. And then, just again, like these symbolic barriers, these symbolic cages. I saw this one. This is basically how this is memory decay. This is essentially how our mind and how computers this is a visualization of computer memory, and how as it decays and degrades, it just gets more and more obtuse. It's the same image, but it's just being represented in different ways. And if you get farther and farther, it begins to look kind of like a QR code. I felt like that. How interesting that the memory decay actually ends. This scrambled message. It's only scrambled to our brains. It's not. It's actually probably quite intelligible by another observer. Just like the QR code. I have no idea what that QR code says, but it says something intelligible. And then again, we mentioned the cage. Like the mental imprisonment, the bars. And I think that the rib cage visual that we see so much with these pizza stories, which is ironic because you'd think if they were eating pizza very heartily that they would have more meat on their bones. But the pizzas, so this is where, everyone's kind of seen. I remember seeing pictures like this when I was a kid, and I was like, oh my God, just horrifying. But this is very common imagery, just gets put in front of children all the time. Something like people are like, why'd you use that? And I'm like, well, people have seen this picture already. But anyway, like it's kind of grotesque what we do show the children, but there is something about the rib cage that is, I think that it's also communicating to us like first of all, it is a cage. It's letting us know that within our human body system, we do have something called a cage. And I think that that's kind of a wink within our earthly bounds. But the kind of the lines, and again, kind of going to what are these lines meaning with the vertical lines with the barcode, I also think that there is something visual, not just a message coming through, but also illusion. These vertical lines and these.
It looks a little bit like an interference pattern.
That's exactly what it is. This is a moire. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, you could sort of transpose an image on that, and you
sure can, like this.
Okay.
So this is another. This is another version. You're using this optical illusion to reveal movement and messages. I include this one all the time. This is like one of my favorite animations, this is lenticular parallax effect. But it's the same thing. It's using these lines to create illusion, to create motion. We've got our little galloping horse, and we know logically the horse is not galloping. It's just, it's just lines. You mentioned the interference. This is interference. This is from the double slit experiment. I hadn't really seen this visualization, but you can kind of see over here on the left, those are the two slits. And so when, the double slit experiment is all on, quantum theory, that basically the world changes when it is being observed. Elements change as they are being observed. And when the light does come through these double slits, it creates this interference pattern that looks like this. And I thought that looked really familiar. I was like, that's kind of interesting. Turn it on its side. Looks a lot like the Twin Towers.
Oh, why?
And actually, the Twin Towers themselves, naturally, because of the lines, because of the vertical lines running up them, they do create a moire effect. If you can see on the
right-hand side.
Yeah, so that's not at all on the tower. That's just an optical illusion because the pattern is far away and our eyes are having a hard time understanding what that pattern is. And so it's creating this interference.
HV, I've got to let you know, we've actually got just over 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Because we've got to be less than 3 hours for
let's go to the
reasons.
Otherwise,
see.
our AI can't edit the show.
Okay, multiplane camera. Multiplane camera. I think that this is back to the spiking neural networks. This is another view of how the neural networks work, how the spiking neural networks work. Those look exactly like how multiplane cameras work. That was Snow White was the first movie to ever use multiplane camera, and Q always talks about Snow White. I think why he talks about Snow White is because it's a multiplane camera. This was a synagogue that was destructed. What does that look like in the center? But a film reel. If you just kind of go back and forth, that I think they're watching a movie, something. Let me see. This is multiplane camera. This is a little visualization again of how these elements come to get like superimposing, and the idea that this is how the movies were actually made, I think is farcical. I think that we're just shown a process, and then the actual creation of these movies is something a lot more advanced. This is a great superimposing, that little boy strolling down by dead bodies at the something, and I just don't think he's really there. The pizza, yeah. And then the color photography. This is a Kodachrome, and again, it's just showing that color photography was absolutely available during this time. That bomber is a Lockheed. We talked about Lockheed earlier. These were known as the convertible bombers.
See that photograph on the right doesn't look real.
No, it's 100%.
Look at the planes and it
I liked that they was called. So this was like the plane, and it was called the convertible bomber. Just reminded me of like the convertible. I feel like that's just part of the and like the plane, the multiplanar aspect absolutely goes to 9/11. Page 1 of the 9/11 Commission report, they say we have some planes. They're talking about the multiple planes that hit the towers, but I think that they're talking about the plane of existence and the plane of comprehension. They're talking about other planes, multiplanar. Okay, I'm trying to get through this. Okay, 9/11. This was really, really, really black smoke. What does that? Why is smoke black? Smoke can be any color. Smoke can be lighter than this. What creates black smoke? Well, insufficient oxygen. That is what creates black smoke. That is the only reason that the smoke is black. Here we go. Zyklon B. That was a gas that was used in the gas chambers. And how does that work? Well, it interferes with the body's ability to use oxygen. So here we have insufficient oxygen. Here we have insufficient oxygen. And what does that mean? Like, what is? I feel like the story is losing oxygen. All of these narratives are losing oxygen. I think that the lack of oxygen is another one of those little tells. This is a picture of the camp, but you'll notice the smoke is not coming from the chimney stacks. It's coming from the train.
Yeah, right.
Actually, it's very difficult to find any pictures. There are none. There are no pictures.
Those pizza ovens should be going 24/7.
They should be going 24/7. The black smoke, I think something about that can help us see through. I made smoked glass to view the eclipse. That's how my grandmother viewed the eclipse, and you can make your own eclipse glasses by. So there's something about this black soot, like the black smoke on glass. Maybe we can see another dimension. I think we're being kind of shown maybe tools. That's just a picture. Anyway, that was me looking through the eclipse. Of course, I had to see, yes, there was an eclipse that took place over that area of the world during the camps, which I thought that was just kind of interesting. What are the odds?
Pizza eclipse.
Yeah, pizza eclipse right over there.
Nice.
This is the liberation of one of the camps, and you can see that it's just, I don't think the people are really standing in front of it, and they're superimposed, but again, black smoke. Art of the liberation of the camp shown in black smoke. I think that this narrative was losing oxygen. This is a picture of the liberation. Ultimately, I think that liberation has more to do with us than anything about the camps. I think that liberation is in the mind. When we are released from these narratives, they will be liberated. This is the coke. This is the coal that was supposedly used to build the ovens. This is all the petrocoke coming in on the railways. The math ain't mathin'. You can look that up on your own. The math just is not mathing. There was just not enough supply to actually have. Anyway, look, that's another one. Then the 6 million doesn't add up. The amount of available
the ingredients for the pizzas don't add up.
This doesn't add up. This is one of my favorite because I know this is in front of Auschwitz, but just a different direction than you usually see. This is if you can see up at the top, it kind of breaks into three. The single rail breaks into three, and what does that create? A trident, and that is just found its way into all sorts of things. This is the Twin Towers, of course, known for their trident base. Also, Dealey Plaza, 112263. It was in the shape of a trident. And ultimately, same thing with Atari logo. I think that this is some sort of game that we're working our way through. It's some sort of this world is some sort of Anyway, this is I got to get this one in. Okay, so the cattle cars. The people arrived on trains, but they actually arrived.
1 minute left.
They arrived in cattle cars. Why? Because there were no windows, so you could run these trains all up and down the country, and nobody would know that there was nobody inside. Everyone would see the trains going and go, "Oh my God, everybody's in there!" But these could have been empty, absolutely, and nobody would have been the wiser. Absolutely, a wonderful way to. You can find a lot of superimposing on this one. The cattle cars were part of the narrative because it made it feel dehumanizing, but I think that it was a double. I think it was a double bluff because
20 seconds before
Here's
we've actually got to pull the plug.
Let's see. It's all this. I just need to end on this. It's all this. This is it. This is what it is. It's just shadow play. It's 100% of. Let's see. Anything else?
Human vibration. I've got to say this presentation, although rushed at the end, was very close to the knuckle. Right, guys, you're gonna have to check your emails to see if you won the competition. We've got to press stop. Human vibration.